Chapter 867. Soon, the spatial channel was occupied by the 9-domain world's camp. The situation stabilized. After observing for 7 or 8 days, Night Sorrow found that although the Netherworld world's cultivators were very strong, their understanding of formations was lacking. They simply couldn't break formations. After discovering this, Night Sorrow once again gathered the people from the commander's residence. "Commander, do you have any new orders?" asked Yun Tianlong. "Yes. The Netherworld world's formation research is lacking, so they can't break formations. In other words, our defensive formation is stable, so we need to stabilize the rear. Everyone, go out and clear out the Supreme River region. In the future, there can't be any nether beasts in the Supreme River region. They can't threaten the 9-domain world," said Night Sorrow. Hearing Yi Shang's words, everyone bowed and accepted their orders. Split up the teams. Each team must be led by a high-level saint. In other words, each high-level saint will lead a team. Cultivators and formation masters who have room to grow stronger will stay behind. The formation here is stable, and we need people to support and maintain it, added Night Sorrow. Following this, the 2 vice-commanders went to arrange the teams, and the elders of the commander's residence also began to move. The majority of the people moved. Xueshi stayed behind to accompany Night Sorrow, while the god-slaying squad followed Long Xianxing to fight. Night Sorrow tossed a messaging crystal to Jun Xuanji. "If there's a big problem, crush it. If there's a small problem, deal with it yourself." "What about you?" asked Jun Xuanji as he took Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. "If I have to do everything, then why would I need an elder like you?" Glancing at Jun Xuanji, Long Xuanji entered the space-time pagoda. Jun Xuanji was startled by Night Sorrow's words. He let out a breath and calmed himself before continuing to set up the spatial ceiling formation. After entering the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow and Xueshi flirted for a while before having Little Sky transfer all of Xueshi's daily necessities to the 70th level. Xueshi was a 6-star saint, so she could afford to stay on the 70th level. Night Sorrow also planned on staying on the 70th level in the future. Because of the time acceleration, his cultivation base could quickly increase. First release then, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. Recently, the 6th bloodline talent had shown signs of loosening, so Night Sorrow continued to strive for it. Night Sorrow's main cultivation direction was to increase his true Qi cultivation and the myriad Tao Tome cultivation, because he wanted to break through to the 7th stage. Although he was young, Night Sorrow was someone who could calm down. Once he started cultivating, he would forget about the time. In any case, this was a peaceful period, and there was no danger in the war. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Night Sorrow's Zhen Qi cultivation was not far from the late stage of the 9th level Venerable Realm. His myriad Dao treasured cannon had also reached the late stage of the 8th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. If others wanted to increase their cultivation, they would need several years or even longer. This was because the amount of energy required was incomparably large. However, Night Sorrow had the space-time pagoda fully instilling energy into him. All he needed to do was refine it. In addition, Night Sorrow's Divine Sea, which was originally empty apart from the Divine Bead, was now filled with a purple fog. This was his newly cultivated soul force, and the crescent blade of soul extinguishing slash was becoming more and more solid. At this time, only a month and a half had passed in the outside world. After cultivating with Xueshi for a while and stabilizing his cultivation, Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda. He wanted to see what was going on. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, Jun Xuanji, who was patrolling outside the formation, was stunned. "What's the situation recently?" Night Sorrow asked Jun Xuanji. "A lot of people have gathered in the Nether Realm. If it weren't for the formation, they would have eaten us alive," Jun Xuanji reported to Night Sorrow. "As long as the formation is effective, it's fine," Night Sorrow said. After that, Night Sorrow asked the 2 groups of people who were scouting for information, but there was no news. The people who had gone to the Supreme River space to fight had not returned either. Everything was still going on. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow went through the spatial channel and began setting up a formation near the channel's entrance. Jun Xuanji also followed. "Why aren't you setting up the formation over there? Why are you here?" Jun Xuanji asked when he saw Night Sorrow setting up the formation. "I'm setting up a defensive line. Even if the formation over there isn't stable, there's a second line of defense. It's better to be prepared, Night Sorrow said. Jun Xuanji understood after thinking about it. Night Sorrow did this to add a layer of insurance. In order to ensure that the formation was strong, Night Sorrow had used top-grade spirit stones at the key locations. Night Sorrow had even used top-grade spirit stones. Even Jun Xuanji, who understood formations, could not understand what Night Sorrow was doing. What was the 1000 amplification formation? It was the clear sky sage king's blood, sweat, and tears. No matter how profound one's attainments in formations were, it was difficult to understand without a formation diagram. Night Sorrow, who was tired, rested for a while before continuing his research. After 4 days, a small 1000 amplification killing formation was formed. You're using too many spirit stones, said Jun Xuanji, who was watching Night Sorrow set up the formation. I still have to use them. However, I still gained a lot. It was worth it, said Night Sorrow. In truth, Jun Xuanji did not know that Night Sorrow had gained a new understanding of formations while he was setting up the formation. He had also reached the level of a formation grandmaster. Now that the formation was complete, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. He then returned to the camp inside the spatial channel to make tea. After drinking tea, Night Sorrow tested the strength of the spatial passageway's spatial confinement array formation. Night Sorrow could still cut open space, but it was very strenuous. It could be said to be extremely strenuous. Not bad. Night Sorrow felt that it was very strenuous for him, and it would be even more difficult for others to break open. There was no problem in terms of safety. You have to give me the spirit stones. I used a lot of them, said Jun Xuanji as he looked at Night Sorrow. Wait for the Grand Elder to return. Ask her for them. I don't care about resources. Night Sorrow directly ignored Jun Xuanji. After telling Jun Xuanji to call him if there was anything, Night Sorrow returned to the space-time pagoda to continue cultivating. This time, other than checking out the situation, he also wanted to get some fresh air. It's safe outside. Aren't you afraid that someone will dig out the spirit stones you used to set up the formation? Asked Xuexi as she looked at Night Sorrow. She saw that Night Sorrow had set up the formation but had not activated it. You're overthinking it. I've placed the spirit stones very deep into the ground. They won't move easily. If someone touches the formation's foundation, they'll activate the formation and be attacked, said Night Sorrow. After that, Yishan began to cultivate again. He planned to cultivate his true qi to the peak of the 9th level as soon as possible, then settle down. As for the myriad Taoist treasured tome, he still had a long way to go before reaching the 7th level of the Golden Body Realm, so he was in no hurry. Half a month had passed in the outside world, while Yishang had been cultivating in the space-time pagoda for another month. Yishang's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level Venerable Realm, which meant that he had reached the critical point of breaking through to the Saint Realm. Night Sorrow stretched his waist. He knew that he would have to slowly settle down. Once he stabilized, he would be able to break through to the Saint Realm. When Night Sorrow came out of the space-time pagoda, Yiling Huan and the Flying Tiger Saint returned. The two of them brought back some news that made Night Sorrow feel very depressed. Yiling Huan and the Flying Tiger Saint had disguised themselves and captured people to interrogate them. They knew some of the Nether Realm's strength. Chapter 868. We can't fight them head-on. We can't beat them. Night Sorrow felt a headache coming on after hearing the news from Yiling Huan. The difference is huge. The main reason is that the Netherworld race and Netherworld beasts have much longer lifespans than us. That's why they have so many peak saints. Yiling Huan explained the reason why the other side had so many peak saints. Fortunately, we've stabilized the situation. If they really broke in, we wouldn't be able to hold on, Night Sorrow said. Also, we know that they didn't attack us previously because they were waiting for their first king, the Nine King, to come out of seclusion. Last time, they sent 2 high-level saints but couldn't defeat us. So they decided to wait for the 7 underworld kings to gather. If they didn't wait, then the 9 regions world would be in big trouble, Flying Tiger Saint said. This is fate. The god of fate is on our side. Now that we have the advantage, they can't break in even with their strength. That's not good, Night Sorrow said. Right now, we can only stabilize the situation and wait for an opportunity, Yiling Huan said. Night Sorrow nodded. The other side had 7 peak saints. This wasn't something that the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm could fight against. Not long after Yiling Huan and Flying Tiger Saint returned, the people who were fighting in the Supreme River Dimension also returned. The Supreme River Dimension had been cleaned up. Although the Supreme River Dimension was huge, it couldn't withstand such a cleanup. After knowing the strength of the Netherworld realm, Long Xianxing and the others felt helpless. There was no way to fight when there was a huge difference in strength. The Nine Regions world's army was at an absolute disadvantage when it came to peak saints. 3 days later, Yi Wuyo and Xie Lanjun returned. The two of them had investigated in detail. Xie Lanjun was a woman, so her thoughts were more meticulous. They brought back a detailed map with the distribution of the major forces in the Nether realm. Night Sorrow, do you have any ideas? If not, we'll just defend. With the formation, we can still hold on, Sky Underworld Saint said. Let me think. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow tried to think of a solution to the crisis. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow nodded at Yi Wuyo with the map in his hand. Father, since you've gone out to investigate the other party's strength, you'll naturally know the names of the 7 underworld kings and the forces they belong to. Help me mark them down. After that, Yi Wuyo circled the forces that the 7 underworld kings belonged to on the map. After taking 2 deep breaths, Night Sorrow made his decision. Kill. How are we supposed to kill a peak saint? There are 4 of us and 7 of them. Let's just send them to be killed, said Sky Underworld Saint to Night Sorrow. Don't talk so much, just listen. Long Xianxing glared at Heavenly Underworld Saint. Gather our strongest forces and kill their strongest individual soldier. Night Sorrow spoke his mind. Seeing that everyone was confused, Night Sorrow explained. Night Sorrow's idea was for the 4 peak saints on their side to go out and attack the 7 underworld kings. They would capture one of them and kill them one by one. That's a ruthless idea. It's not bad. It'll be easy for us 4 peak saints to capture one of their peak saints. Sky Underworld Saint's eyes lit up. The other people who were originally in low spirits also became spirited. All right, we'll set off tomorrow. The earlier the better, said Night Sorrow. We'll be the ones setting off. This matter has nothing to do with you, said Long Xianxing to Night Sorrow. I'm worried, said Night Sorrow. You don't have to worry about the 4 of us going to kill one of them, said Xian Wenxiu. I'll go with you. If there's a special situation, I can tear open space and bring everyone away, said Night Sorrow. There's no need for you. Grandpa will go with us. This way, even if there's a problem, it won't be a problem to retreat, said Yiling Huan. He wouldn't let Night Sorrow take the risk. Seeing that everyone was so determined, Night Sorrow could only nod. He then looked at Grand Elder. Spiritual fluid of origin, spiritual fluid of life, and other necessary resources have been prepared. Yes. Grand Elder cupped her hands. She knew that Night Sorrow valued people the most. He didn't want anyone on his side to die. Night Sorrow, just wait for our good news. You've come up with such a good idea. If we can't solve the problem, it'll be our fault, said Long Xianxing. Remember, complete the encirclement and kill everyone who knows about the battle. Seal off the news. Only then can we carry out the next attack safely, said Night Sorrow. Then, Long Xianxing and the other 3 peak saints, as well as Yiling Huan, took the transmission array and left to carry out Night Sorrow's plan. Yi Shang, you don't have to worry. As long as the 7 underworld kings don't gather, they won't be able to threaten the safety of our team. You know how strong Senior Long Xianxing is. The announcing saint also has a high-grade holy treasure, Xie Lanjun said to Yi Shang. Night Sorrow nodded. Then, he looked at Grand Elder and Lu Qin. Grand Elder and Martial Ant, the Array Master used some spiritual stones some time ago. Also, replenish her spiritual stones. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow brought his parents, Xue Shi, and 3 fiancés to his tent. Then he made tea. Father, Mother, it's been hard on you. It's okay. I feel a sense of accomplishment fighting under my son's command. I don't feel tired at all. I'm in high spirits, said Yu Qing with a smile. With the cleanup, the Supreme River space won't be a hidden danger anymore. You can be more assured as the commander of the commander's residence, said Sikong Chuyu to Night Sorrow. Looking at the U9 on the D chapter, if I'm being assured, I can only be assured when Senior Long Xianxing and the other seniors come back safely, said Night Sorrow as he poured tea for everyone. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Son, you're not far from entering the Saint Realm, right? Yi Wuyo looked at Night Sorrow and asked. My cultivation is still stabilizing. It's about time for me to break through, said Night Sorrow. That's amazing. When Mother first saw you, you were only a mid-level venerable. Now, you're charging toward the Saint Realm. Yu Qing looked at her son with pride. After staying for a while, Night Sorrow sent everyone to the 60th floor of the space-time pagoda to cultivate. He himself went to the 70th floor. Yi Wuyo was a saint, so he could go to the 70th floor. However, Night Sorrow felt that it was more appropriate for his parents to be together. As for the energy that everyone needed to cultivate, Night Sorrow could bear it. He just needed to give Shao Kong more spirit stones. Night Sorrow stabilized his true qi every day, increasing his soul power and the cultivation of the myriad Taoist treasured tome. After cultivating for a month, Night Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Taoist treasured tome broke through to the 9th level of the spirit refinement realm. If he broke through again, he would reach the 7th level of the golden body realm. By then, he would be able to fight against saints. In truth, it was very difficult to break through from the spirit refinement realm to the golden body realm from the spirit refinement realm. One needed to control the laws and have the power of laws fill the body. However, Night Sorrow had already completed this step while cultivating his true qi and soul power. Night Sorrow would also go to the 60th floor of the space-time pagoda to see how his parents and fiancé were cultivating. He would also go to the campsite to check on them. To the 9 regions world, guarding the spatial passageway was the most important thing. If it was lost, it would be a serious problem. Chapter 869. Night Sorrow spent most of his time cultivating. He had a strong sense of danger. Only when he was strong would he feel at ease. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Other than cultivating, Night Sorrow would often visit the camp of the God-slaying squad. Every time she saw Night Sorrow, she would cuddle with Night Sorrow for a while. Night Sorrow had told her many times that it was inappropriate for a lady to hug him every time she saw him. However, she did not mind at all. Every time Tian Yu saw Yi Shang, he would ask for wine. His cultivation had also increased in a straight line. He was the person with the highest cultivation in the God-slaying squad, reaching the 5th level venerable realm. Even the venerables of the God-slaying squad who cultivated by eating dragon spirit pills couldn't compare to him. Night Sorrow also asked Xie Jun to arrange for people to set up the teleportation array. From the spatial tunnel to the Medicine Valley region, they must be able to communicate quickly. Now that there were no main forces in the 9 regions world, they must be able to contact them immediately if something happened. Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji, and Ren Tianji also communicated more. However, Ren Tianji spent most of his time cultivating. Sometimes, Night Sorrow would also go and check on the movements of the Netherworld. Currently, the Netherworld did not know how to break the array at the spatial tunnel. This was because the foggy area was filled with fierce beasts that devoured life. The commander of the Netherworld army did not appear after sending people into the array. This made him very nervous. He did not continue to send array masters and only surrounded the area. Night Sorrow wanted to bring people out to kill, but because he did not want to alert the enemy, he could only endure it. In the blink of an eye, Long Xianxing and the rest had left for almost 2 months. Night Sorrow was a little anxious. After all, it had been a long time. Yi Shang, you don't need to worry. Long Xianxing himself has the strength to kill opponents of the same level. The saint declared also has a saint tool. There won't be a problem. If there is a problem, the news will be sent back. Wu Lingfei came to Yi Shang's side. The Netherworld is a world with a long history. It is indeed powerful and not easy to deal with, Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded. She also understood how strong the Netherworld race was. They were all dark elemental cultivators. Not to mention how strong the Nether beasts were, they were just battle beasts under the command of the Netherworld race. We have also discovered many Nether beasts with the death attribute. If there is a death attribute among the 7 Nether Kings, it will be difficult to deal with them. Night Sorrow voiced his concern. There are still some advanced attributes at Tier 4 and Tier 5. Although there aren't many who have entered the Venerable Realm, there are still some. However, it's difficult to control advanced attributes. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Wu Lingfei said. She had felt it before. She had advanced from the water element to the life element, but the life element was very difficult to grasp. It was Night Sorrow who had taken the life saint crystal and pushed her forward, allowing her to enter the saint realm through the life element. If the other side doesn't have any advanced attribute saints, then it'll be fine. Us 4 peak saints will be able to defeat them one by one. Hearing that, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. The 2 of them patrolled around the array formation. When they returned to the command tent in the campsite, the teleportation array formation flashed and a figure appeared on it. Night Sorrow quickly walked over. Because this transportation formation was only connected to the Netherworld's 2 transportation formations, only Long Xuanqing's group of 5 could be teleported back here. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu didn't seem to be injured, but Sky Underworld Saint and Shang Luo seemed a bit dispirited. As for Yi Linghuan, he was still normal. "You're all back? Seniors, are you all right?" Night Sorrow asked worriedly. "It was our negligence this time. We didn't complete our mission properly," said Long Xiansheng. "Don't worry. Even if we didn't kill them, it's fine. We just have to defend this place." Night Sorrow was already very happy that they had returned safely. After that, Long Xiansheng explained the situation to Long Xiansheng. It wasn't that they didn't manage to kill anything this time. It was just that they didn't manage to get to the end. They managed to kill 3 Hell Kings, but when they were about to kill the 4th one, that Hell King was very strong. He broke through the blockade and escaped. Following that, when the 5 of them went to kill the other Hell Kings, they were surrounded by 4 other Hell Kings. Because of the continuous fighting, Shang Luo and Sky Underworld Saint had been injured, and so they had been suppressed by the other side. It was Yi Linghuan who had repeatedly used spatial cracks to block the other side's attacks. At the same time, he had also brought the 4 of them into a spatial crack and left the battlefield. This result is very good. Killing 3 of the other side's Nether Kings has equalized our strength. Night Sorrow was very happy to hear Long Xuanqing's words. This was a great result. If that fellow hadn't escaped, we would have been able to kill them one by one until the end. We didn't understand that fellow. He had entered the Saint Realm with a high-level attribute, so he suppressed us. Long Xianxing explained the reason why that Nether King had escaped. "It's fine. Now that Senior Long Xianxing and Senior Xian Saint are uninjured, can you continue fighting?" asked Night Sorrow. "Yes, the 2 of us can continue fighting." Long Xianxing nodded. He knew that if there wasn't a need, Night Sorrow wouldn't have asked this. Xian Wenxiu also nodded, indicating that they could continue fighting. "Martial Uncle Grand Uncle, gather all the saints and invincible venerables. Before the King of Hell arrives, we'll gather all our peak combat power and launch a wave of attacks at their army. We'll kill a wave of their saint commanders and peak venerables to equalize the strength of our 2 worlds." Yi Shang announced his decision. "All right." Tai Shu Yan went to inform the others. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu also began to recover. After leaving the battlefield, they had been hurrying on their way. Night Sorrow also brought his parents and Xue Shi out of the space-time pagoda. 2 hours later, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu, who had recovered after consuming the Origin Spirit Liquid and Life Spirit Liquid, nodded to Night Sorrow. "I can also continue fighting." Sky Underworld Saint nodded to Night Sorrow. Shang Luo also indicated that he could continue fighting. "That's fine too. Seniors, don't focus on the other side's saints. Just grab the other side's peak paragons and high-level paragons and kill them. Our goal this time is to weaken their strength." Night Sorrow said. "Then let's end it quickly. Their 4 Nether Kings will definitely arrive later." Long Xianxing said. "Then I'll talk about the battle strategy. Our pinnacle saints will grab their high-level saints and kill them. Our high-level saints will suppress their mid-level saints and kill their commanders. We have to suppress them and deal the most damage. We'll fight the way we can deal the most damage." Night Sorrow explained his battle strategy. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured, retreat directly into the formation. If the enemy King of Hell arrives, our people will retreat directly into the formation. Inform all the formation masters to wait for orders in the formation, and bring back our people who have retreated into the formation safely. If the enemy pursues into the formation, they will be killed or trapped by the formation. Night Sorrow said again, then led everyone into the formation and approached the army of the Netherworld. Search for a basket of erotic books to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 870. The elites of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm approached the Netherworld army through the formation under the lead of the Formation Master. Search for Orchid Book Handle. When they reached the edge of the formation, Knight Sorrow directly gave the order to start the battle. Following which, everyone rushed out and started to attack the Netherworld army. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu rushed to the front and directly restrained the two high-level saints, suppressing them and attacking them. As for high-level saints, Xie Jun was the only one in the Nine Regions world. However, the Profound Mysteries realm had two more. A total of 3 high-level saints attacked the mid-level saints of the Netherworld army. The others didn't have a clear target. They just killed whoever they met. Knight Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and rushed into the enemy army. When he used his 7-star Brilliant Moon spear, there was almost no one who could withstand it. Yu Qing was worried about her son and followed behind. Wu Lingfei also followed Knight Sorrow not far away. The battle was very intense. This was an all-out attack for the Nine Regions world. It was very difficult for the Netherworld army, which was only a part of the Netherworld army, to withstand it. After a while, corpses were everywhere. One had to know that Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu were both Netherworld King-level powerhouses in the Netherworld realm. Sky Underworld Saint and Shang Luo were injured and couldn't fight against high-level saints. However, killing peak venerables was as easy as chopping vegetables. Knight Sorrow didn't know how many times he killed the enemy army. After killing them once, he continued to kill. As long as they weren't from his camp, they were all killed by him. If an ordinary army couldn't withstand the slaughter, the army would scatter. Those who should run would run, and those who should escape would run. However, none of the Netherworld army's Netherworld beasts or people from the Netherworld army ran. They were all fighting to the death. Even if they died, they didn't retreat. They were very valiant. Even if their arms and half of their bodies were cut off, they still fought. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured, retreat to the formation, Yishang shouted and continued to slaughter the Underworld army. Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's order, some of the injured and exhausted cultivators from the Nine Regions and the Profound Mysteries realm retreated into the formation. Once they returned to the Great Formation, the Formation Masters would receive them to a safe place. However, once the Nether Realm's Nether Race and Nether Beasts entered the space of the Great Formation, they would be trapped by the Killing Formation and Illusion Formation. At this time, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu had also killed their opponents. They began to kill the higher-level Nether Beasts and Nether Race members. Commander, give the order to retreat. The enemy's experts are here. After fighting for another half an hour, Xian Wenxiu called out to Knight Sorrow. He had sensed the arrival of the Nether King. Retreat! Don't get caught up in the fight. Retreat! Shouted Knight Sorrow. He charged toward the God-slaying squad. The God-slaying squad's cultivation bases were low, and they had been fighting in formation. Now that they wanted to retreat, they wouldn't be able to do so quickly. Everyone was retreating. Long Xiansheng, Xian Wenxiu, Heavenly Underworld Sage, and Shang Luo went all out to block the counterattacks of the Netherworld army and give the others time to retreat. Knight Sorrow used his reincarnation spear to kill the Nether Realm warriors he encountered. If he encountered any God-slaying squad members, he would send them flying into the Great Formation. Retreat! Long Xiansheng shouted at Knight Sorrow once more. At this time, Knight Sorrow sent the last member of the God-slaying squad, Ma Zhuang, flying into the Great Formation. Then he charged toward the Great Formation in a flash. Just at this time, a suppressive law fell on Knight Sorrow. Break! Knight Sorrow roared. Purple energy ripples spread out in all directions, breaking through the bindings. Just as Knight Sorrow broke through the bindings, a beam of energy slammed into Knight Sorrow, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. Knight Sorrow's body drew an arc as he charged toward the Great Formation. At this time, a large hand of energy slammed toward Knight Sorrow once more. It was a woman wearing golden battle robes and a golden helmet. Her golden helmet had 2 curved horns with a special aura. She was the Netherworld Realm's #1 Nether King, the 9 Nether King. That attack just now had come from her. Another hand of energy came out of the Great Formation, cancelling out the 9 Nether King's attack, allowing Knight Sorrow to smoothly fall into the Great Formation. Once Knight Sorrow landed, someone supported Knight Sorrow. It was Wu Lingfei. While supporting Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei sent her life energy into Night Sorrow's body, helping Night Sorrow stabilize his injuries. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow spat out another mouthful of black blood. There were even flames burning within the blood. Array Master, keep an eye on the Great Formation's stability. The rest of you, clean up the Netherworld warriors that entered the Great Formation. Aunt Fei, help me back. Night Sorrow said softly. The energy in his body was tumbling. A black energy was tumbling within his body. He was using the Void True Qi and the power of Desolates to suppress it. After returning to the command tent, Night Sorrow immediately sat down cross-legged to heal his injuries. As he meditated, the top of Night Sorrow's head was filled with black flames with streaks of red. Those flames were forced out of his body. Be looking at you a moment later. Night Sorrow's upper robes were burned away. His hair was filled with flowing purple flames, resisting the black and red flames that were forced out of his body. That's the 9E Nether King. It's an explosive flame with a death attribute and an ultimate flame attribute. Right now, those two energies are destroying Night Sorrow's body, said Long Shensheng. It's my fault. Captain only received that attack because he saved me. Ma Yizhuang slapped himself. That's enough. Your martial uncle saved you. Did he want to see you like this? Yang Lei glared at Ma Yizhuang. Ma Yizhuang, your martial uncle is fine, said Aoi. Ma Yizhuang nodded and stood to the side. At this time, Jun Xuanji also arrived. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow had been heavily injured. What's the situation outside? Xian Wenxiao asked Jun Xuanji. They've been wildly attacking the Great Formation for a while. Our array masters have reinforced it. There's no problem. We can hold on. How about him? Jun Xuanji asked Night Sorrow. I don't know. Shang Luo shook his head. At this time, Night Sorrow raised his head and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Within the blood was a black and red flame. Clasping his hands together, Night Sorrow stabilized the energy in his body. Then he opened his eyes. Night Sorrow, how are you? Asked Sikong Chuyu as he crouched down and looked at Night Sorrow. That fellow's attack was too fierce. My body managed to withstand the danger of being destroyed, but I still received some internal injuries. I'll have to refine her energy bit by bit. I won't be able to increase my cultivation base during this time. Get me a cup of water first, said Night Sorrow as he nodded to Sikong Chuyu. Then he put on his robes. It's good that you're fine. If something happened to you, no matter how many enemies we killed, it would be a loss, said Heavenly Underworld Sage as he looked at Night Sorrow. Senior Heavenly Underworld Sage is too serious. As long as we can reduce the enemy's strength, my personal losses are nothing, said Night Sorrow as he took a big gulp of tea from Yang Lei. What are you talking about? You're the commander of 2 commanderies. If something happened to you, it would be the same as us being beheaded by the enemy, said Long Shensheng. Also, please give me some devil fruits. These devil fruits are linked to my royalties and salary. If I don't have enough, the situation will be very serious. For every dollar he tipped or spent on the excavator, there would be a devil fruit that the excavator would not have. I hope everyone can support Shizi. I'll be a guest during the day, and the afternoon update will be posted on my phone. If there's an update, I'll add it at night. It's still the same old rule. If you give me 200 yuan or 2,000 excavators, I'll add an update. You can read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 871. I'm fine. Elder June, please take care of the formation. Make sure the formation is stable. Nothing must happen to it. Search for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters, Night Sorrow said to Jun Xuanji. Commander, don't worry. Just focus on healing. I'll take care of the defensive formation, Jun Xuanji said as he looked at Night Sorrow's pale face. Okay. Also, pass down my orders. No one is allowed to fight for now. We need stability, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the group of people in the tent. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the tent cupped their fists, including the saints. Night Sorrow nodded to everyone. Then I'll go heal. The other side's berserk energy can't keep destroying my body. Following this, Night Sorrow returned to the tent and entered the 70th level of the space-time pagoda with Xue Shi. Night Sorrow, how can I help you now? Xue Shi looked at Night Sorrow with some heartache. I'll first refine and expel the destructive energy from my body, Night Sorrow said as he took out a spirit jade stone stool and took off his clothes to heal. Even if he didn't take off his clothes, they would still be burned by the berserk fire energy. As Night Sorrow suppressed and refined the energy, black flames continuously appeared on Night Sorrow's body. That was the death energy and fire energy that he had forced out of his body. The higher-ups of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries world were all present in the command tent. Dark Monarch Nine Yin's palm strike landed on the commander. If it landed on anyone else, apart from Peak Saints, they would have died on the spot, Shang Luo said. That's right. When I was carrying out the commander plan in the Netherrealm, I was hit by her energy a few times. Even with the protection of the rules and the protective energy shield, I was still injured. Anyone below the mid-level saint level will definitely die. Sky Underworld Saint nodded. Dark Monarch 9 took the 3 Underworld Kings to inspect the battlefield, and his expression became more and more unsightly. What vicious methods! She killed 3 of our Underworld Kings and destroyed a third of our Netherrealm army. 9th King, we can't break their formation now. We can only passively take a beating. A man wearing black armor and a helmet with a pair of curved horns said. He was the Netherrealm's 7 Fiends Hell King. 7 Evils King, continue to mobilize our Underworld army and surround this place. This king will think of a way, 9 Dark King said to 7 Evils King. This king will go now. The 7 Fiends Hades King bowed and left the spatial passageway. 5 Puppet King, go and gather your subordinates as well. The 9th King once again said to a green-robed man with a pair of curved horns on his head. 6 Soul King, you should recuperate first, 9 King said to a man with a pale complexion after giving out instructions. Lupa understands, said the middle-aged man called Lupa by the King of 9. The Netherworld realm originally had 9 Netherworld Kings, but due to the passage of time, 2 of the kings had died due to problems with their lifespans. The remaining 7 kings, the higher the number, the stronger they were. 9 Dark King was the number 1 king in the Netherworld realm. No matter if it was strength or prestige, she deserved to be number 1. The 7 Netherworld Kings of the Netherworld realm respected her and listened to her orders. 6 Soul King was the one who escaped from the encirclement of Long Xiansheng and the others. Other than 9 Dark King, he was the only one who could control the death attribute. After arranging the tasks of the 3 Netherworld Kings, the 9th King reorganized the army. At the same time, he sent people back to the Netherworld realm to gather array masters and arrange for people to look for array books. Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Time-Space Treasure Pagoda. He used the energy of the Myriad Dao Tome to suppress it and used the Void Genuine Qi to refine it. He refined the energy that 9 Dark King had injected into his body and expelled it out of his body. Seeing the black smoke and flames constantly emitting from Night Sorrow's body, Xuexi was very shocked. She understood that this was because Night Sorrow had cultivated his body to a higher realm. If it was someone else, this would have been fatal. Night Sorrow spent an entire month recuperating. It took Night Sorrow an entire month to refine the energy that 9 Dark King had left in his body. When Yishan felt that his body was fine, he began to cultivate with Xuexi. Xuexi helped him nourish his body and energy. You're really fine. You scared me to death, Xuexi, who helped Night Sorrow nourish his body, said. This month can't be considered as a total loss. My genuine qi and the energy of the Myriad Dao Tome have become much more solid. I'll just treat it as a consolidation of my cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Don't be rash in the future. If something happens to you, many people will be worried and afraid, Xuexi said to Night Sorrow. I was too nervous at that time and forgot to use the power of rules and the protective barrier to protect my body. I won't do it again, Night Sorrow said. As the level of the opponent increases, you will also have to adapt to the battle with high-level cultivators. The power of rules fuses with energy attacks. Without the power of rules to protect your body, you won't be able to withstand it. Therefore, in the future, you must always use the power of rules to protect your body, Xuexi reminded Night Sorrow. I know. Now, there is a very important problem. My genuine qi entered the sage realm with the power of nothingness. However, if I use the power of nothingness to enter the 7th level with my body refining cultivation, it will be equivalent to reducing my future development space, Night Sorrow said. That is indeed the case. However, you can comprehend the power of nothingness because you have the Heavenly Fate Pearl. It will be very difficult for you to comprehend the power of desolation, which is the law of time. Let alone the heavenly fate pearl, you won't even be able to get an origin stone, Xuexi said after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Even so, I can't destroy my own path just because I am anxious. I also need to think about this matter, Night Sorrow said. This matter was a very difficult choice for Night Sorrow. Entering the golden body realm with the myriad Tao treasured scripture was a leap in strength. However, if he used the power of nothingness to advance, the power of desolation would not be able to increase. It would also be a problem if he suppressed it and did not advance. This matter also directly affected the cultivation of Night Sorrow's soul avatar in the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Seeing that Night Sorrow's soul avatar was irritated, the 9 regions' origin energy appeared. Is there a problem? There is a problem with my original body's cultivation. This also affects the achievement of my avatar. You are the 9 regions' origin energy. I would like to ask, where can I come into contact with the law of the power of desolation? The green-robed Night Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked. If it was any other origin law, my original body could solve it at any time. However, after countless years of evolution, my original body condensed a high-level elemental origin, which is Dongshuan's life origin. The main reason is that my original body's evolution direction is the world of life. I can't use other high-level origins. However, the Desolate Sea is still the place where the law of time is displayed. The 9 regions' origin energy shot a beam of energy into the green-robed Night Sorrow's body. This is a map. The green-robed Night Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked in surprise. That's right. That is the place where the law of desolation is the most concentrated. As for whether you can comprehend it or not, it depends on you. I can't help you. The 9 regions' origin energy left after saying that. You can read the rest of the chapter by searching for a basket of erotic books. Chapter 872. At this time, Night Sorrow's true body had also obtained a map. It was an island in the desolate sea of the realm of unbounded desolation. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Good. Since there's an opportunity, I have to seize it, Night Sorrow said as he waved his arm. What's wrong? Xuexi asked as she looked at Night Sorrow. Following that, Night Sorrow told her about the origin of the desolation laws. That's great. You'll have a chance to upgrade your body with the time attribute, Xuexi said happily. She hoped to see Night Sorrow succeed. After drinking a pot of tea, Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda and went to the command tent. You're in good shape. You're fine, Long Shenxing said as he looked at Night Sorrow. It's done. How's the situation now? Night Sorrow asked. It's stable. The Nether Realm's understanding of formations is very low. They won't be able to break our formation, Long Shenxing said. How are Saint Shang and Senior Underworld Saint's injuries? Night Sorrow asked. 2 days ago, Heavenly Underworld Saint came out. He is almost fully recovered, but it will take some time for him to fully recover. The same goes for Shang Saint. There are no major problems. The main thing is that the few underworld kings who were killed by us managed to inflict some injuries on them. Long Shenxing explained the situation of Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. Night Sorrow nodded. He also understood that it was very difficult to kill a peak saint without suffering any losses. It was already a good thing that both sides weren't injured. After leaving the command tent, Night Sorrow went to the formation area to take a look. The formation area was guarded by Jun Xuanji and Black Shang. They didn't try to break the formation? Night Sorrow asked. They tried. Their level of formation masters is very low. It's impossible for them to break our formation. That underworld king 9 went berserk and attacked for a while. The price we paid was just a few high-grade spirit stones, Jun Xuanji said. Knowing that everything was fine, Night Sorrow returned to the campsite at the spatial passageway's entrance and checked on the god-slaying team members' cultivation progress. When Night Sorrow returned to the command tent, many people had already come out of their cultivation areas. Now, everyone was cultivating in the buildings of the Nether Realm. Seeing that Night Sorrow was fine, everyone was very happy. It could be said that Night Sorrow was now everyone's backbone. Son, don't be so reckless in the future. That's a pinnacle saint. If you get attacked, you'll die. Yu Qing looked at her son worriedly. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I'll be more careful in the future. The situation is very stable now, and they can't break in. There's no need for us to fight to the death with them. When the other two Pinnacle Saints have fully recovered, we can use the harassing and robbing tactics. That is, we can rob the sects, cities and resources of the various forces. Xian Wenxiu said, Commander, that's a good tactic. With our Pinnacle Saints leading the team, as long as we don't encounter their underworld king, we won't be in any danger. Then let's wait for the two saints to recover. Also, I'll be leaving for a while. If anything happens, crush my messaging crystal. I'll rush back immediately. Also, if there's an accident, we can't defend here. Quickly retreat to the Supreme River Space and attack the largest ancient tree 10 miles away from the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow said. Where are you going? Xie Jun asked. She didn't want Night Sorrow to leave now. I have some problems with my cultivation that I need to solve. Night Sorrow explained the reason why he was leaving. Then go. We'll discuss the small matters. We'll inform you if something big happens. Long Xianxing nodded. He knew that it was very important for Night Sorrow to improve his strength. There were some things that Night Sorrow could solve that others couldn't. After leaving the command tent, Night Sorrow returned to his own tent. After communicating with his parents and 3 fiancés, he sent them to the 60th floor of the space-time pagoda. Then, he took a teleportation formation and left the spatial passageway. After a few teleportations, Night Sorrow arrived in the realm of unbounded desolation. He teleported to Eastern Desolation City, which was close to the Desolate Sea. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation at the edge of the realm sea. Then, he took a flying ship and flew toward the area on the map in his mind. After flying for a while, Night Sorrow controlled the flying ship to fly higher. Because the corrosion of the power of desolation in the Desolate Sea was too strong, the flying ship was affected. On the 3rd day, Night Sorrow arrived at his destination. After storing the flying ship, Night Sorrow used the energy of the myriad Taoist tome to protect himself and landed on a deserted island full of yellow speckled stones. There was no life on the island. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, no life could survive. At the center of the deserted island was a pool with a diameter of more than 100 feet. The Great Pool. This was the Great Desolate Pond. However, it was many times larger than the one Yishang had seen on Taishu Yan's Sea Heart Island. Images of the passage of time appeared in the desolate pond. Streaks of energy floated above the desolate pond. It had rich power of desolates and rich power of desolates laws. Yishan knew that this was the kind of place he needed. At the center of the great pool, there was a piece of desolate stone that was about 10 feet wide and contained a very rich energy. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation so that he could get to his destination as quickly as possible. As long as the messaging crystal shattered, Night Sorrow could immediately return to the spatial passage in the Supreme River Space. After setting up the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow didn't put any spirit stones or teleportation crystals. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, the energy in the spirit stones and teleportation crystals would quickly dissipate. After looking around, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the desolate stone. He sorted out his emotions and sat down cross-legged. Then, he started to comprehend the power of desolation emitted by the Great Pool. The power of desolation had the ability to accelerate time. In other words, a few days in the Great Pool would be less than a day in the outside world. This situation would be fatal to others because they would lose their lifespan. However, it wasn't the case for Night Sorrow. With the power of desolation's body, the power of desolation couldn't take away his life force. Instead, it helped his cultivation. What he needed the most was time. Night Sorrow's body was inside the space-time pagoda. With the protection of Night Sorrow's body, it wouldn't be invaded. This was equivalent to giving Yi Wuyo, Yu Qing, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi the time acceleration effect. However, it was synchronized with Night Sorrow. It was the same for Xue Shi, who was on the 70th floor. Only when Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda would Little Kong use the power of time to accelerate time. Without Night Sorrow, Xue Shi didn't receive this treatment. When Night Sorrow cultivated his soul power and improved his cultivation of the myriad Tao tome, he was also comprehending the power of desolation. To comprehend the power of desolation, one needed talent and a deep soul power. Night Sorrow had a foundation in both of these. He had good innate conditions. Time passed quickly. As Night Sorrow's cultivation increased, he gradually gained entry into the power of desolation. Scenes of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Search for the basket color book to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 873. In the Realm C, on an island in the central prefecture, Ji Yu Hao kicked a maidservant away. Commander of 2 worlds, the higher you climb, the more painful it will be for you to fall. Didn't you declare war on Nether Realm? Then I'll let you die at the hands of Nether Realm people. Search for Lazy Book Bar, and read a new chapter. After reaching the 7th level Venerable Realm, Ji Yu Hao disguised himself and went out to gather information. He learned that Yi Shang had led the 9-domain world to conquer the Profound Mysteries realm and had become the commander. This made him furious. After thinking about it for a moment, Ji Yu Hao made his decision. He was going to screw over Night Sorrow and the people of the 9 realms. Right now, he hated all the people of the 9 realms because the Ji Yu family had no place in the 9 realms world. They were the public enemy of the 9 realms. After making up his mind, Ji Yu Hao went to the Tai Ching domain and captured an iron guard who was transporting resources to the Supreme River domain. He cruelly made a human skin mask and mixed into the iron guards of the commander's office. Then, he followed the other iron guards to transport resources. After a few teleportations, he arrived at the entrance of the Nether Realm. After arriving at the campsite of the Nether Realm, Ji Yu Hao was very cautious. He suppressed his time attribute aura and didn't dare to leak it. Most of the higher-ups of the 9-domain world were in secluded cultivation. There weren't many people who knew Ji Yu Hao. While chatting with the other iron guards, Ji Yu Hao learned that the 9-domain world relied on the Great Formation to resist the enemy's attack. He had a plan in his mind. Ji Yu Hao was the same as the others. He cultivated normally. However, he paid attention to the formation and knew who set it up. In the following days, Ji Yu Hao came in contact with a formation master and humbly communicated with him. At this time, the people of the 9-domain world and the Profound Mysteries realm were united. No one thought about the traitor. A few days later, Ji Yu Hao and the formation master entered the formation space to inspect. This was the opportunity Ji Yu Hao wanted. When this magic formation master went to report to He Shang, Ji Yu Hao, who accompanied him, made his move. He swung his sword towards He Shang's head. He wanted to kill He Shang, then take the formation map to the Netherworld. When Ji Yu Hao made his move, Jun Xuanji had already noticed it. He immediately showed up beside He Shang and pushed him away with his energy. Then, he wielded his long sword and sent out sword chi towards Ji Yu Hao. Jun Xuanji moved fast, but he was still a bit slow. He managed to push He Shang away, but Ji Yu Hao's sword power still cut off He Shang's left arm. Ji Yu Hao's body flashed across the air as he grabbed He Shang's broken arm and rushed out of the formation. Jun Xuanji and He Shang were watching the Netherworld from the edge of the formation. Therefore, Ji Yu Hao seized the opportunity. Array diagram. Array diagram. He Shang shouted at Jun Xuanji, ignoring his bleeding arm. When Jun Xuanji chased after Ji Yu Hao and cast the 4 extremes combined attack to trap him, Ji Yu Hao shouted, "Seniors from the Netherworld, save me. I have a formation map." At that moment, 9 Dark King appeared and sent a palm strike towards Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji's expression changed, and he retreated into the formation. Then, he pulled the 4 extremes combined attack towards the center of the formation. 9 Dark King waved his arm and shattered the space of the 4 extremes combined attack, then pulled Ji Yu Hao to his side. At that moment, Long Xianxing arrived. "What's going on? Hurry up and tell Night Sorrow to come back. Something big has happened. Protector He Shang's storage ring has been taken by a traitor. The formation map is inside." Jun Xuanji's expression was very unsightly. Tai Shu Yen directly crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. This matter was too serious. "Haha, trash from the 9 regions world. Do you still remember me, Ji Yu Hao?" Ji Yu Hao took off his mask. "You must die," Tai Shu Yen shouted. "I hate traitors. If you have no value, they won't have to kill you. I will kill you myself." 9 Dark King looked at Ji Yu Hao and said, "The formation map is in this storage ring," said Ji Yu Hao while holding He Shang's severed arm. "Let's go back," Long Xianxing said in a low voice and returned to the formation. In the command tent, Tai Shu Yen helped He Shang bandage his severed arm. Grand Elders, this is my responsibility. I didn't think there would be a traitor, and I didn't take precautions. I, Jun Xuanji, am willing to accept the punishment. Jun Xuanji bowed. This matter isn't your fault, and it's not the time to find out who is responsible. Now is the time to solve this crisis, said Xie Jun. If they break the formation, then not only will we lose our advantage, we'll also be in a passive position. So, how to save the situation is the most urgent matter, said Xian Wenxiu. If the formation is broken, then we'll definitely lose our advantage. However, we won't be in a passive position because the commander still has a backup plan. I can't understand that formation, so they won't be able to break it. Jun Xuanji said that Knight Sorrow had set up a formation in Supreme River space. Fortunately, the situation isn't too bad. Master He Shang, can they break the formation with your formation map? Xie Jun asked He Shang. They need the cultivation of a formation grandmaster to understand a little of the formation map. With the formation map in their hands, it'll be a hidden danger. However, there won't be any problems for a few days. Let the commander come back and solve it. He Shang's face was pale. I've already informed the commander, said Tai Shu Yan. Knight Sorrow, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. He had almost mastered the law of desolates. Now, he just needed to familiarize himself with it. The breaking of the communication crystal made him a little anxious. When he stood up, Knight Sorrow's robes turned to dust. Knight Sorrow knew that he had been meditating for at least a year and a half. As for how much time had passed in the outside world, he really didn't know. Yi Shang used the Desolate's attribute to protect his body. After putting on his robe, his body flashed and left the Great Desolation Pool. Then he went to the transmission array and activated it. Yi Shang began to teleport. After a series of teleportations, Knight Sorrow returned to the entrance of the spatial tunnel and went directly to the command tent. Who did it? Seeing He Shang missing an arm, Knight Sorrow's eyes flashed and he looked at Jun Xuanji. Don't glare at me. Although I'm at fault, it wasn't me, said Jun Xuanji. Then, Tai Shu Yan explained the cause and process of the matter. Protector He Shang, I'm sorry. This was caused by me. Ji Yu Hao hates me. Knight Sorrow bowed to He Shang. Young master, this is not your fault. We are now united and did not suspect the insiders. He Shang helped Knight Sorrow up with one hand. Protector He Shang, I, Knight Sorrow, swear to get justice for you. Knight Sorrow looked at He Shang and said, this subordinate understands. He Shang nodded. Everything else is a pirated version. Marshal Uncle Tai, go and make the arrangements. Other than the commander's residence members and the array masters, everyone else will retreat to the Supreme River space. Let's camp 30 li away from the spatial tunnel. Ji Yu Hao wanted to play with me, right? I want to see how he will play with me. Knight Sorrow said coldly. Can you turn the situation around? Jun Xuanji looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. Isn't that obvious? Knight Sorrow glanced at Jun Xuanji. Baidu Myriad Daos Become Expressions book, and read it for free. Chapter 874. Jun Xuanji didn't care about Knight Sorrow's reprimand and asked, can you really turn the tables around? He searched for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. Of course. I won't make a single mistake that will cost me everything. Now do as I say, said Knight Sorrow. That's good. Otherwise, I'd be a sinner if I ended up in a passive position because of my negligence. Jun Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief. Jun Xuanji was a strong person. He had lost to the 9 Regions World and Knight Sorrow, but the Profound Mysteries Realm's outcome was still very good. Now, he wanted to prove his worth. He didn't want to ruin the situation because of his negligence. He didn't want Knight Sorrow to vent his anger on the Profound Mysteries Realm because of this. Tai Xian and the others arranged for the 2 regions' forces to be stationed in the Supreme River space about 15 kilometers away from the spatial channel. Apart from the commander's residence's members and saints, there were only formation masters in the command tent. Protector He Shang, this is all my fault. Knight Sorrow looked at He Shang apologetically. Young Tower Master, it's fine. As long as I don't fall, I'll continue to fight, said He Shang. Knight Sorrow nodded. He first went to activate the 1000 derivation killing formation. Next, He went to the edge of the heavenly cycle formation to take a look before returning to the command tent. Formation masters, go and monitor the formation. When their forces enter the formation, just return with me, said Night Sorrow. What's the point of informing you? Aren't we still going to retreat? Asked Jun Xuanji. It's very useful. While you were setting up the formation, I wasn't idle either. I also set up a composite formation. As long as you casually insert spirit stones into the formation, the 1000 derivation illusory formation I set up will be fully activated. Who knows who will be the unlucky one? Said Night Sorrow. The illusory formations you set up are composite formations. Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. I don't mind telling you that I'm also a formation grandmaster, said Night Sorrow as he brewed tea. Haha, the commander-in-chief has returned. Suppressing all sides, I feel at ease, Xiajun said with a smile. Let them try to break the formation. Whoever comes in will die. I told my people to back out because I don't want any spies from Ji family to be in there. Besides, even if some spies manage to break in, they won't be able to escape from either side. Night Sorrow said while pouring tea for everyone. Indeed. Originally, when our profound mysteries realm lost, I thought that it was due to luck. But now, it seems that it's not the case. Lord Commander, you are the mastermind. No matter how we fight, we will lose, Shang Luo said. Night Sorrow is deeply sorry for the damage I've caused to the profound mysteries realm. After this war ends, I will go to the profound mysteries royal city to pay my respects to the living beings who died in battle. I will also offer my apologies to all the living beings in the profound mysteries realm. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Shen Wenxiu and Shang Luo. At this moment, the members of the profound mysteries realm cupped their fists towards Night Sorrow in return. There's no need for that. We know that there's no right or wrong in war. We're already grateful that you're treating the profound mysteries realm well, Shen Wenxiu said. Protector He Shang, go treat your injuries, said Xiajun. Everyone felt helpless about He Shang's severed arm. Saints could regrow severed limbs, but sovereigns couldn't. He Shang's severed arm had been taken away, and he had lost the chance to reattach it. Commander, when are you going to break through to the Saint realm? Asked the Flying Tiger Saint. Any time. I just want to stabilize my foundation. Right now, my main research direction is the cultivation of my body. This time, I went out to find an opportunity for my body to break through, said Night Sorrow. How is it? Asked Long Shensheng. It's fine. The main thing is that I don't want my true qi and body to advance due to a type of law. Now that I've found an opportunity, I'll try to break through later, said Night Sorrow. You'll be the youngest saint in the history of the 9 regions world. There hasn't even been a sovereign in his 20s, said Long Shensheng excitedly. It's just that my luck is a bit better, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Night Sorrow, you've walked step by step. I've seen how much you've sacrificed. I know how hard you've worked. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow. After chatting for a while, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow went to Night Sorrow's tent. Aunt Fei, it's been hard on everyone while I wasn't here. Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and handed it to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. You've arranged everything, and we're just following your plan. Even so, this mess still happened. It seems we really can't do without you here. The others can fight, but they're not as good as you when it comes to managing the situation, said Wu Lingfei as she took a sip of wine. Let's stabilize for a few days and see how things go. If it's still like this, we'll give him a heavy blow. I can't let Ji Yuhao have a good time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, you've changed. You've matured, and you're smiling more. This is what I want to see. No matter what happens, you can face it with a smile, said Wu Lingfei. She knew that the Night Sorrow in front of her was no longer the child who had risked his life with her in Eastern Snow Mountain. He was now the commander in charge of 2 regions. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while, Night Sorrow brought his parents out of the space-time pagoda and began to meditate. He continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of desolation. Although he wasn't in the Great Wasteland Pool, he still had some insights. After cultivating for 4 or 5 days, there was still no movement from the Netherworld realm. Night Sorrow planned to add fuel to the fire. After having Tai Shu Yen inform everyone to gather in the command tent, Night Sorrow once more patrolled the formation. Seeing that the Netherworld realm still hadn't begun to break the formation, he returned to the main seat in the tent and sat down. A while ago, I mentioned that the battle of harassment and the battle of resources can still be carried out. Seniors Long Xianxing and Xian Shang will each lead a team. I don't want too many people, just 4 or 5 elites. Father, you two will each lead a team, said Night Sorrow. So it's killing people, setting fires, and then plundering resources. That's it, said Shen Wenxiu as he looked at Night Sorrow. Haha, that's it. But I still need to talk about the things you need to pay attention to. This kind of battle requires you to be mobile. In other words, you can't let people surround you. If you want to control the situation well, you need to control the transportation formation well. Night Sorrow laughed and explained in detail how he had fought such battles in the past. Cut off the enemy's call for reinforcements, insert the transportation crystal, and be able to teleport at will. This method is good. Xian Wenxiu nodded. Senior Shang Shang and Senior Heavenly Underworld Shang, stay here and pay attention to the situation outside the formation. If the Netherworld King dares to leave, then the two of you will lead the other saints to kill. Remember to destroy the transportation formation first, so that the Netherworld King won't be able to come back in time. Night Sorrow then arranged his second plan. Everyone nodded. Yi Shang's plan was well thought out and had no loopholes at all. Then, Night Sorrow asked Tai Shu Yen to allocate resources for everyone. Then, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu each chose 3 or 4 people, respectively leading Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan to leave the spatial passage through the transportation formation. Baidu, 10,000 Dao into Expression Book, to read for free. Chapter 875. Alright, Uncle Master, if you need anything, just crush my messaging crystal. Yi Shan took out a messaging crystal and tossed it to Tai Shu Yen. Search for Orchid Book Handle. What are you going to do now? What's the situation now? Jun Xuanji asked when he saw that Night Sorrow was about to leave again. I want to cultivate. Night Sorrow got up and walked towards his tent. Elder Jun, please understand. When we were fighting against the Profound Mysteries realm, he didn't want to be a commander. He was forced to do so by a group of seniors. He's essentially a cultivation maniac. Otherwise, he would have attacked the Sage realm in his 20s, Tai Shu Yen said. This is an era that belongs to people like him. If it was peacetime, he might be an expert of a generation, Jun Xuanji said. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow saw Yu Qing. Mother, we had no choice but to arrange a mission for father. Only father and grandfather are following us. Even if something happens, a small team will be able to come back alive, Night Sorrow explained to his mother. Mother understands. Mother wants to tell you that she plans to go back to the city in the sky to see your sister, Yu Qing said. That's what you should do. Mother, bring my sister and old man Gu to Night Moon Dynasty's camp and let my sister and great-aunt stay together. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had been thinking about this matter. He didn't want something like old man Gu to happen again. All right, Mother will leave first. Send me through the formation, Yu Qing said to Night Sorrow. Yes. Night Sorrow nodded, then sent Yu Qing out of the 1,000 derivation killing formation and out of the portal of the Medicine Valley. Only then did he return to the portal. Night Sorrow found Tai Shu Yen and ordered the secret agents of the Commander-in-Chief's mansion to move out. They had to find out where Yu Qing's family was hiding. Lord K has already arranged for people from Tianji Tower to investigate this matter. The results will be out soon. Because our Tianjin Tower has been developing for countless years, our intelligence system is very developed. We have people in GU's family. It's just that the news hasn't spread yet, said Tai Xian. This GU family is too despicable, we have to uproot them, said Night Sorrow. He didn't want GU family to cause any more trouble. Tai Shu Yen nodded. She also hated GU's family very much. They were too shameless and would do anything, even betraying the 9 regions. What else could they not do? After exchanging a few words with Tai Shu Yen and Jun Xuanji, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow flashed into the space-time pagoda and went to the 60th floor. Xueshi was also on the 60th floor, together with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. The 4 of them were getting along very well. Has the matter been taken care of? Sikong Chuyu asked as he made tea. It has been taken care of. Night Sorrow nodded. He hadn't closed off his soul power, so Xuexi knew what was going on outside. At the same time, she also told Sikong Chuyu and the other two. Ji Yu Hao, that bastard, has been caught. It wouldn't be too much to cut him into pieces, Aoi said hatefully. Chuyu, you should rejoice. Rejoice that our 13 has appeared. Otherwise he wouldn't be a man, Yonglei said. Ninth senior sister. Let's not talk about that disgusting thing. He can't do anything in front of Night Sorrow, Sikong Chuyu said. After that, Night Sorrow told the girls that he planned to enter seclusion to break through to the sage stage. Is it dangerous? Sikong Chuyu looked at Xuexi and asked. It's not dangerous. Night Sorrow's soul power has condensed into a divine bead, and he has also mastered the power of law. Advancing is not a problem, Xuexi said. But it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. Knowing that there was no danger, Sikong Chuyu and the other two were relieved. What they cared about was Night Sorrow's safety. Night Sorrow then entered the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda and drank a few mouthfuls of wine. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. If a sage wanted to enter the sage stage, he had to fuse the power of law, soul power, and true energy. Then he had to compress them into a Dan bead, filling the Dan bead with the power of law. That way, his true energy could erupt at any time with the might of the power of law. Night Sorrow slowly fused his soul power, power of law, and true energy, allowing this special energy to flow through his veins. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow started to compress the liquid true qi into the elixir bead. This was a slow process. It was very difficult to compress the liquid true energy into the Dan bead. Yi Shang was not in a hurry. This was a milestone in the process of cultivation. Once he crossed it, his path would be smooth, and he would become a saint that everyone had to respect. Time passed little by little. The true energy in Night Sorrow's dantian was getting less and less. The size of the Dan bead was getting bigger and bigger. 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, there were only 2 faint wisps of true energy left in Night Sorrow's dantian. The purple Dan bead, which was twice as big as before, was slowly rotating in his dantian. After controlling the last 2 wisps of true energy to enter the Dan bead, Night Sorrow's Dan bead shook and began to rotate rapidly. Then, true energy with threads and stripes emerged from the Dan bead. This was true energy with the power of law. Sage, the true energy contained the power of law. This was the sign of a sage. At this time, Night Sorrow was already a 7th level cultivator, a sage. It's a success. Night Sorrow has entered the sage stage, Xuexi, who was connected to Night Sorrow's soul, excitedly told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls. This is a big celebration. A sage. A few years ago, our Medicine Valley was still having a headache over the emergence of a sage. Now, a sage has appeared in front of us. Yonglei was very excited. Yes, the world is changing. There are some things that we can't even dream of in the past. Aoi also had a deep feeling. As Night Sorrow entered the sage stage, the clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall also reached this level. The 9 regions origin shield shone brightly and was much more powerful than before. There were also changes in the Medicine Valley. The 8-dragon cauldron above Danding Cliff spun rapidly. The multicolored light rippled in all directions. Then, there was the sound of bells and drums. The melodious sound echoed in the Medicine Valley. This made everyone in the Medicine Valley come to the foot of Danding Cliff. They didn't understand why such a situation would happen. At this time, Danding Cliff was full of multicolored light. The melodious drum sounded 12 times before it stopped. The multicolored light fell on the statue of Night Sorrow, which was 3,000 meters away from Danding Cliff. Such a phenomenon of heaven and earth made everyone confused. They didn't know what was going on. Something big happened in the Medicine Valley. No matter how big it was, the bells and drums only sounded 9 times at the same time. Everyone also knew that the 8-dragon cauldron, as a treasure with a weapon spirit, would not act recklessly or make a long sound randomly. Yu Yongyu stood on the viewing peak opposite Danding Cliff and bowed to the 8-dragon cauldron. Senior, can you tell me what happened? There's no harm in telling you. My holy treasure is Night Sorrow. Congratulations on becoming a sage, Night Sorrow. Congratulations. The 8-dragon cauldron's voice sounded on Danding Cliff. In the past 2 days, my work and rest schedule have been really unstable. Yesterday, I was busy all day and was half dead tired. When I came back to sleep, I got up at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night to write. I wrote until 6 o'clock in the morning and had to sleep until the afternoon. I got up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to revise and update my manuscript. I'm also a talent. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the brothers and sisters who unlocked the seal yesterday. Baidu the Book of Myriad Tao into expressions, and read it for free. Chapter 876. Congratulations to Knight Sorrow for becoming a saint. When the 8-Dragon Cauldron's voice came out, the tens of thousands of people around Pill Tripod Cliff suddenly quieted down. This news was too shocking, so everyone's emotions stopped. They searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. After calming down, Yu Youngyu asked again, Senior, are you saying that Knight Sorrow, the Deputy Valley Master of the Medicine Valley, has broken through the Venerable Realm and entered the Saint Realm and become a saint? Yes, he has just broken through and become a saint. Well, let's disperse. The 8-Dragon Cauldron withdrew the light, and Pill Tripod Cliff returned to normal. The disciples of the Medicine Valley had dispersed, but the sensation it caused was still there. Those who had a good relationship with each other were discussing this matter together. Some disciples with family forces also went to inform their families. A powerful venerable could change the structure and status of the major sects in the Eastern Profound Domain, let alone a saint. The news quickly spread. In the Pill Tripod Hole, the high-level members of the Medicine Valley were all present. Haha, a saint. A 7th-level saint. Our Medicine Valley has a 7th-level saint. The first elder laughed. That's right. Now, who can look down on our Medicine Valley? Who dares to annex our Medicine Valley? Hua Yunpeng was also very excited. How long has it been since Deputy Valley Master Knight Sorrow entered the sect? 7 or 8 years. In less than 10 years, he has entered the 7th-level saint from no cultivation. This is a miracle in the history of cultivation, and a miracle in our Medicine Valley, Yi Xiling said. Haha, so handsome, Gongxian said happily. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Commander-in-Chief of the 2 Commander-in-Chief's manors, he has prestige and benevolence. After entering the Saint Realm, Knight Sorrow's personal strength has also reached the peak. Our Medicine Valley really has to thank our ancestors, Yu Youngyu said. Valley Master, you have recruited a good disciple. The first elder looked at Yu Youngyu and said. At that time, he was still young and didn't show his talent. If they knew his achievements today, who could and who would dare to accept him as a disciple? I'm ashamed to say this, Yu Youngyu said with a bitter smile. Now that the 9 regions world and the profound world are fighting in the Supreme Plane and Nether Realm, our Medicine Valley is not even qualified to contribute. And Knight Sorrow is the Commander-in-Chief. You can't say that. Didn't Elder Yonglei and Elder Qingji go with them? Guan Yi and Qin Zhan are there too. Ma Shizhuang and the other 2 are doing well in the Deicide squad. The future of the Medicine Valley belongs to the young people, Yen Beiji said. At this moment, tribulation clouds appeared at the entrance of the Netherworld realm, causing everyone to feel oppressed. Everyone in the Nether realm left the camp. Tribulation clouds. Someone has become a saint, Nine Hades said as he looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, everyone looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, Tai Shu Yen looked at Heavenly Underworld Saint and asked, could it be that the Commander-in-Chief has become a saint? What is he doing in the Pagoda of Time? Heavenly Underworld Saint said, the tribulation lightning cannot be avoided. It will fall soon and attack Knight Sorrow's holy treasure as well. Little Kong contacted Knight Sorrow and told him about the tribulation lightning that had appeared in Knight Sorrow's tribulation lightning. Knight Sorrow, who had stabilized his cultivation, came out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. Then, he sent everyone out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. He could not let the tribulation lightning destroy the formation. After Knight Sorrow passed through the spatial tunnel, the tribulation clouds disappeared from the netherworld. The tribulation clouds appeared directly in the supreme river space. Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others followed behind Knight Sorrow and crossed the array formation. Knight Sorrow's tribulation was such a big matter, they all wanted to see it. In any case, with the array formation's defense, the people of Netherrealm couldn't break in. After Knight Sorrow crossed the 1000 amplification killing array, the tribulation clouds pressed down very low. The heavenly underworld saint and the others did not follow, they all watched from afar. After steadying himself, Knight Sorrow pulled out his right hand and grabbed the reincarnation spear. If one had heaven-defying achievements, they would have to accept the test of the heavenly Tao. This was not the heavenly Tao of the Nine Domains world, nor was it the heavenly Tao of the Supreme River Dimension. This was the heavenly Tao of the Greater Thousand Worlds. Just as Knight Sorrow was ready, the tribulation clouds rolled and thunder boomed. A purplish-black lightning bolt, as thick as a human head, struck towards Knight Sorrow. The lightning bolt was filled with electric snakes. It was the law of lightning. Knight Sorrow's body shook and a crescent blade shot out from his back. A spatial crack appeared in the path of the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt directly passed through the spatial storm in the spatial crack and continued to fall. One spatial crack didn't have much of an effect, so Knight Sorrow continued to cast spatial cracks, creating 3 spatial cracks in a row. These 3 spatial cracks consumed half of the purplish-black lightning bolt's power. Then, Knight Sorrow's soul power, along with the law of lightning, enveloped the direction where the lightning bolt was falling. At a speed visible to the naked eye, this tyrannical lightning bolt was slowly dissipated. When it reached Knight Sorrow, it disappeared. Powerful. He destroyed the first lightning bolt without using his true chi. Shang Luo said in surprise. I wonder how many lightning bolts there are. Wu Lingfei was a little worried. She knew that when Knight Sorrow entered the Sovereign Realm, he had to face 3 lightning bolts. Don't worry. I believe that he can safely pass through it. Heavenly Underworld Saint said. At this moment, the second lightning bolt fell. Knight Sorrow used spatial cracks again, but only twice. He could now use spatial cracks 6 to 7 times, but sometimes he still had to hold back. This time, Knight Sorrow swung the space-time pagoda and smashed it against the lightning bolt. With a loud explosion, the lightning bolt was offset. The space-time pagoda spun and fell into Knight Sorrow's hand. Looking at the space-time pagoda, Knight Sorrow was shocked. After entering the Saint Realm, he could completely control the space-time pagoda. Its power was much stronger than before. He passed through 2 lightning bolts just like that. Powerful. I have to admire him. Jun Xuanji said. After Knight Sorrow survived the second bolt of tribulation lightning, the third bolt of tribulation lightning descended. At this moment, Knight Sorrow's body flashed and soared into the sky. He began to attack the lightning bolt with his spear. At this moment, Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear was filled with the power of the void law. As Knight Sorrow attacked quickly, the third lightning bolt went from thick to thin to nothing. After landing on the ground, Knight Sorrow continued to look at the sky. He didn't know how many lightning bolts there were, but he wasn't afraid. Following this, the fourth lightning bolt fell. At this moment, Knight Sorrow did something that shocked everyone. He stabbed his reincarnation spear to the side and raised his hands. He punched the fourth lightning bolt. Every punch contained the image of the passage of time. Knight Sorrow punched more than 20 times consecutively. As he punched, he retreated 30 steps. After 30 punches, Knight Sorrow dispersed the fourth lightning bolt. After repelling the fourth lightning bolt, Knight Sorrow returned to his original position and continued to look at the sky. At this moment, the tribulation clouds had no intention of dispersing. They were still rolling and brewing. What's going on? 4 lightning bolts, and the tribulation clouds haven't dispersed yet? They're still going to attack, Xiaolonjun said in surprise. This also shows how heaven-defying and powerful the commander is, Shang Luo said. Please give me a tip. The ranking list is almost gone. Please give me essential oil. Please give me an excavator. I'm full of energy after waking up today. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 877. At this time, another explosion rang out. A bolt of lightning even more ferocious than the previous 4 bolts fell. The tribulation clouds also scattered. That meant this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning. Come. Knight Sorrow made a decision that shocked everyone. He took off his robes and hung them on his reincarnation spear. Then energy began to circulate around his body. What's he trying to do? Xiaolonjun looked at Wu Lingfei. He's trying to use lightning to strengthen his body. Wu Lingfei narrowed her eyes at Knight Sorrow. She knew that Knight Sorrow knew this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning, so he wasn't afraid. He was going to accept the baptism of lightning. At this time, the fifth bolt of lightning fell on Night Sorrow's body. The phenomenon of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. After a moment of deadlock, his protective energy was shattered. The lightning directly struck Night Sorrow's body. At this time, Night Sorrow was bathed in purplish-black lightning. While the lightning was destroying Night Sorrow's body, it was also destroying the impurities within Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's body was already half transformed into energy. The lightning had damaged some of his body's structure, but the energy was quickly repaired. This was a cycle of consumption. To the lightning it was a consumption. To Night Sorrow, it was also a consumption. But right now, the myriad Tao Tome's energy was at its peak, so he wasn't afraid of consumption. Furthermore, this was also a process of strengthening his body. If he could endure it, he would gain some benefits. Night Sorrow didn't feel anything as he stood within the lightning. But in the eyes of others, his figure was imposing and domineering. That was because no one would dare to do such a thing. After a quarter of an hour, this bolt of lightning dissipated. The myriad Tao Tome's energy within Night Sorrow's body had been used up. Yi Shang's body shook as he roared at the sky. His hair, which was covered in purple flames, stood on end. After putting on his robes, Night Sorrow sat down and began to cultivate. After breaking through, he had to endure the tribulation lightning. His cultivation base hadn't completely stabilized yet. This was also why he didn't use much true qi to endure the tribulation lightning. While Night Sorrow was meditating, 5-colored light appeared where the tribulation clouds had originally been. Within the light, there was also a golden light that made people feel respect. Virtuous merit energy. Virtuous merit energy. Heavenly Underworld Saint looked at the light and golden light in surprise. The multicolored light and the golden light landed on Yi Shang's body. Then, Yi Shang's energy wrapped around them and pulled them into his body. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment with his body. How domineering. A saint in his 20s, that's a legend. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment, that's a legend among legends, Saint Tian Hades sighed. That's great. Now that the commander has become a saint, the morale of our army will be greatly boosted, Xiaolonjun said. After sitting cross-legged and cultivating for 2 days, Yi Shang finally stopped and stood up. Seeing that Night Sorrow was done, the higher-ups of the 2 worlds who were waiting by the side cupped their hands and congratulated him. Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Thank you everyone for guarding me. I'm fine now. Martial uncle, I don't have any wine here. Get someone to get some. We'll hold a banquet tonight to celebrate." "No problem, Commander. Don't worry. I'll arrange it," Tai Shu Yen said. After that, Night Sorrow followed the group of people into the formation. Without Night Sorrow leading the way, no one would be able to pass through the 1000 amplification killing formation. After arriving at his tent, Night Sorrow sat down. Aoi smiled and handed Night Sorrow a jar of wine. "Six Senior Sister, do you have more?" Night Sorrow asked with a smile. Aoi smiled and said, "There's more. Don't worry, Six Senior Sister can provide you with wine. There's a lot in the cellar of our mansion in Sky City." "That's great. I'm really not used to drinking other kinds of wine," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "You've entered the Sage Realm and become a saint. We have to work hard too," Sikong Chuyu said. "You don't have to rush. Take your time." Night Sorrow shook his head. He didn't want the girls to feel pressured. In the evening, Night Sorrow participated in the banquet. At the same time, he asked about the situation. After knowing that the 9 Dark King was still outside the formation, he felt more at ease. Since the 9 Dark King was still outside the formation, the people from the 9-domain world and Profound Mysteries world couldn't attack. At the same time, it also meant that the 2 groups led by Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxia were safe. Night Sorrow asked about the strength of the peak saints on both sides. Long Xianxing and the 9 Dark King were on par. Xian Wenxia was slightly weaker. The 9 Dark King could suppress him, but he couldn't injure or defeat him. On the other hand, Xian Wenxia could suppress the 7 Fiends King. The 7 Fiends King and the 6 Soul King were slightly stronger than the Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. The weakest was the 5 Puppet King. In other words, as long as the 9 Dark King didn't return, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxia's groups were absolutely safe. After finishing the banquet, Knight Sorrow greeted Tai Shu Yen and the other saints. Then, he went to the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda to stabilize his cultivation. At the same time, he continued to comprehend the desolation law. As he had just entered the sage realm, Knight Sorrow's cultivation wasn't stable yet. In addition, the 5-colored light that entered his body could increase his overall strength. It was of great help to his true qi, soul power, myriad Dao tome, and physical strength. While Knight Sorrow was stabilizing his cultivation, the people from the 9-domain world and profound mysteries world were also steadily increasing their strength. Everything had been going smoothly recently. Even if there was a traitor, Knight Sorrow wouldn't be able to do anything. In the Nether Realms camp, the 9 Dark King was studying the formation every day. The level of the Nether Realms formation masters was very low. She could only study it by herself. As she studied the formation diagrams, her formation skills also increased sharply. This was the advantage of having a strong soul power and talent. Ji Yuhao's current treatment wasn't bad. He had his own tent and was treated with good wine and meat. However, his freedom was restricted. The 9 Dark King didn't completely trust him. A few days later, the 7 Fiend King and the 5 Puppet King brought the Nether Realms army and experts to the spatial tunnel. They also brought news that the Nether Realm was in chaos. The plan is very comprehensive. The attack will be carried out step by step. The 9 Dark King was wearing golden armor, but he didn't wear a helmet. Among his golden hair, 2 curved horns were emitting a shocking aura. 9 Dark King, what should we do now? Many cities are being attacked. They are killing people, setting fires, and robbing resources. King Wugong asked. Once we leave here to intercept their troops, they will definitely rush out and attack us. The 9 Dark King thought for a moment and figured out the stakes. And the other 3 Dark Kings nodded. They knew that the 9 Dark King's analysis was correct. 7 Fiend King, you will bring the 6 Soul King and the 5 Puppet King to control this matter. After gathering all the high-level warriors here, arrange for communication crystals to be used between the cities. Close all the teleportation formations except for the Imperial City. This way, if we discover their tracks, it will be difficult for them to run away. After restricting their range of activity, inform this king. The 9 Dark King thought for a while and came up with a countermeasure. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 878. 7 Fiends King accepted the order and left the command tent with 6 Soul King and 5 Puppet King. He searched for Lazy Book Bar and read the latest chapter. 9 King continued to study the formation. The 2 teams led by Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu were very effective. They had conquered many cities and earned a lot of spirit stones, materials, and pills. However, when all the teleportation formations in the cities were closed, it would be difficult for them to carry out their raids. After discussing with Yi Wuyo and the rest, Long Xianxing decided to change their strategy. They would not attack the cities consecutively, but they would attack from one place to another. Shang Luo and Yi Linghuan also made the same decision. Although the efficiency would be greatly reduced, the battle could still be carried out. Such a situation gave 7 Fiends King a headache. There was no way to confirm the whereabouts of the 2 teams. 7 Fiends King had no choice but to seek an audience with 9 King. 9 King pondered for a moment and made a decision. He would hide all the teleportation formations in the cities and not allow ordinary people to use them. Only the 9 King had the rights to use them. In other words, they would only be used as strategic teleportation formations. With such a strategy, 7 Fiends King led 6 Soul King and 5 Puppet King to capture Long Xianxing and the rest. When Long Xianxing and the rest thought that there was no teleportation formation, the other party used a teleportation formation to support them. Long Xianxing could suppress 7 Fiends King and even kill him if he had the time. However, 6 Soul King and 5 Puppet King were still around. If they fought head-on, the rest would be in danger. After that, Yi Wuyo tore the space apart. Long Xianxing used the chaotic space to suppress 7 Fiends King and the rest. When Yi Wuyo and the rest entered the chaotic space, he followed them. Yi Wuyo and the rest traversed through the chaotic space. There was a limit to the distance, but Long Xianxing was strong. With the chaotic space to control the damage caused by the chaotic space, the few of them traversed a few thousand miles and got rid of 7 Fiends King and the other 2. We can't fight anymore. They have some preventive measures now. Let's go back and ask Night Sorrow for his opinion. Long Xianxing said. Yi Wuyo and the others also nodded. They didn't have the strength to fight against the 3 underworld kings, so they could only go back and ask Night Sorrow how to deal with this. When they flew back to the teleportation array, they met the team led by Xian Wenxiu. Both teams had encountered the same situation. Xian Wenxiu had a defensive high-level sacred treasure, so his team was not injured. Then, the 2 teams were teleported to the entrance of the spatial passage. After learning about the situation, Tai Shu Yen went to Night Sorrow's tent. Knowing that Night Sorrow was cultivating, she wanted to crush the messaging crystal, but Xuexi stopped her. She could contact Night Sorrow. Xuexi shook the God Pearl and Night Sorrow woke up from his meditation. He then came to the tent. After listening to Tai Shu Yen explain the situation, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Seeing that Night Sorrow had become a saint, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu congratulated him and told him about the situation. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "Their reaction is very fast, but 2 seniors, we can't stop the battle just like that. We have to take advantage of them." Long Xianxing asked, "Well, we can still take advantage of them." Of course. This time, 2 seniors, Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Saint, will also fight. They will follow Senior Long Xianxing secretly. Senior Xian Saint's team will appear and fight. If the 3 Underworld Kings dare to chase after them, well, I don't need to say more. Night Sorrow said. Great, this plan is really great. Xian Wenxiu admired Night Sorrow's plan. Not only him, everyone admired it. This plan must be carried out quickly. If we are slow, they will wake up and realize it. I can only trouble you seniors. In addition, grandfather, father, you have to follow. Senior Long Xianxing left the messaging crystal. Once 9 Underworld King leaves, we will crush the crystal and everyone will stop and come back. Night Sorrow continued to talk about the details of the plan. The plan is perfect. Let's do it. Long Xianxing said. If it goes well, we can take advantage of 1 or 2 Underworld Kings. Remember, you only have to fight once. No matter the result, you have to come back because you only have 1 chance to take advantage of them. Night Sorrow reminded everyone. Soon after, Long Xianxing and the others took the teleportation array and left. Jun Xuanji also followed because she had the 4 extreme kill and could control the other party to escape. After sending off the group of saints, Tai Shu Yen looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Commander, let's not talk about your combat strength. Your brain is also so flexible. Martial uncle really can't understand." Night Sorrow said with a smile, "Actually, it's just a suitable arrangement. Fortunately, the effect is not bad." It's not just not bad. It's simply a perfect battle strategy. Tai Shu Yen shook her head. She admired Night Sorrow from the bottom of her heart. When she first met Night Sorrow was still very young. Night Sorrow then returned to his own tent to cultivate. He didn't follow because he wouldn't be of much use in a battle between peak saints. It was better for him to cultivate quietly. Tai Shu Yen brought people to observe the situation of the other party in the teleportation array. Their main purpose was to check if the 9 Underworld King was here. If he wasn't, they would have to inform Long Xianxing and the others. Although Night Sorrow was worried, he was still able to calm down. Every day, apart from cultivating, he would walk around the camp inside the spatial channel and watch the members of the God-slaying team cultivate. When he arrived at the camp again, Night Sorrow received a message from the people guarding the spatial channel that his mother had returned. He rushed to the channel between the Medicine Valley and the Supreme River Space and brought his mother, Yin Yanxiao, and Papa Gu over. Yin Yanxiao and Papa Gu were both people that Night Sorrow cared about. He told Yi Lingxie to take care of them and not let anyone other than Night Moon come into contact with them. This arrangement was because Night Sorrow was worried that there were spies from the Ji clan in the camp. Ji Hao was in the Nether Realm, but there was another person in the Ji clan, Ji Haitian. According to the information that Night Sorrow had received, Ji Haitian had disappeared after he lost the fight with Ji Fenglan for control of the Ji clan. He was a member of the Ji clan, and he had no bottom line. Night Sorrow had to guard against him. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation base became more and more stable. In addition, Night Sorrow could sense the changes in the void fiendish space. The empty fiendish space and the emptiness fate pearl continued to merge. The area and space were both shrinking. When they were all merged into the emptiness fate pearl, the emptiness fate pearl was a spatial world that was under Yi Shang's control. Night Sorrow would sometimes discuss formations with Black Shang, but Night Sorrow didn't teach him about the 1000 derivation formation. It wasn't that Night Sorrow wasn't broad-minded enough, but that the 1000 derivation formation was too important. It was related to the safety of Clear Sky City and the Heaven Sealing Palace. The Heaven Sealing Palace was also related to the safety of the 9 regions. There couldn't be the slightest mistake. On the 9th day after Long Xianxing and the others left, Tai Shu Yen reported that the 9 Dark King had left the camp. Night Sorrow asked Tai Shu Yen to crush Long Xuanqing's messaging crystal. He knew that his plan had come to fruition. As for the result, he would only know when Long Xianxing and the others returned. Night Sorrow was somewhat excited. If Long Xianxing and the others carried out the plan perfectly, then they could eliminate most of the Netherrealm's forces and change the direction of the war. On the 3rd day after Tai Shu Yen crushed the messaging crystal, Long Xianxing and the others returned. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 879. Night Sorrow didn't ask anything. First, he did a head count to see if everyone had returned. Then, Night Sorrow noticed that Flying Tiger Sage was missing a leg. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read the latest chapter. Senior Flying Tiger Sage, you. Night Sorrow didn't know how to continue. It's nothing. Losing a limb will just consume some energy and time. I'll recover in a dozen years, said Flying Tiger Sage. Then, Long Xianxing explained the situation to Night Sorrow. This time the results were pretty good. They had killed 5 Puppet Kings and 6 Soul King. However, their self-detonation had given 7 Fiend King a chance to escape. When 6 Soul King self-detonated, Flying Tiger Sage, who was closest to him, had been heavily injured. The results of this battle are very good. Martial Uncle Tai Shu, give the Flying Tiger Saint some life spirit fluid. Give him whatever resources he needs to recover, Yi Shan instructed Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin. Also, we'll have to continue fighting. Everyone, please continue to work hard, said Night Sorrow. How do we fight? Asked Long Xianxing. That 9 Nether King isn't here. What are we waiting for? I'll go gather people. We'll start killing now. Remember to destroy the teleportation formation first. After that, kill as many people as you can. If you're injured or exhausted, enter the teleportation formation, ordered Night Sorrow. Following Night Sorrow's orders, Long Xianxing and the others began to move. Night Sorrow went through the spatial tunnel and arrived at the 1000 derivation killing formation. He opened a hole in the formation and brought the people of the 2 worlds through the spatial tunnel. He was worried about Father Gu and Yin Yanxiao's safety, and directly sent them into the space-time pagoda. Then, a formation master led everyone through the Great Cycle formation to attack the Netherworld army. The Netherworld army's strength was 2 to 3 times that of the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. However, with only high-level saints present, they weren't able to block the attacks of the 2 worlds. Long Xianxing first followed Night Sorrow's instructions and destroyed the enemy's teleportation formation before starting the battle. Night Sorrow rushed over and started looking for Ji Yu Hao. He wanted to kill Ji Yu Hao as soon as possible, but he couldn't find him. That guy isn't here. I've been looking for him with the others, but we haven't found him, Snow Dusk said to Night Sorrow as she fought. Then let's fight first. Pay attention to my parents' safety. Night Sorrow instructed Xuexi. Xuexi was now a mid-stage 6-star saint, but her strength was far beyond a 7-star saint. With Night Sorrow's current combat strength, he could defeat beginner-level saints, but killing them would take time. If he encountered venerables, he could kill them in 2 shots. The other 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were also fighting fiercely. Everyone knew that this was a rare opportunity to draw closer to the 9 domain worlds and the Nether realm. Although the army of the Netherworld realm was being suppressed, they were still fighting ferociously. The Netherworld beasts and the Netherworld race fought to the death without retreating. They had the ferocity to bite their enemies even if they had to die in battle. Fortunately, the elites of the 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were strong. They had 4 peak saints, 3 high-level saints, and even more mid-level saints. The 9 domain world side had been fighting conservatively. As long as they were injured or exhausted, they would retreat. At this time, the battle had lasted for 2 hours. The Netherworld Realm's army's strength had been halved. However, the 9-domain world side only had a few saints and venerables left. Night Sorrow and the others are here. It's the 3 Netherworld kings, reminded Xian Wenxiu. Retreat. Right now, we're exhausted, and our condition isn't good. We can't fight to the death. Retreat immediately. Night Sorrow gave the order to retreat. This time, the ones who hadn't been held back were all saints and venerables. A clean retreat was still possible. Night Sorrow and the others retreated into the formation and watched the newcomers. That's not right. That 6-soul king clearly self-detonated. How could he still be alive? Frowned Sky Underworld Sage. A spiritual clone. What he self-detonated might be his spiritual clone. As for why it's so strong, it's hard to say. We don't understand his cultivation technique or talent, said Long Shensheng. Killing the 5 puppet kings is a great victory. Being able to kill 6-soul king's clone is also a good thing, said Night Sorrow. Not bad. We've gained a lot from this battle. Now, we're infinitely closer to the Netherworld realm, said Xiaolonjun. She was very happy that the 9-domain world side had obtained such a result. It could be said that they were getting closer and closer to victory. The 9-Een Underworld Monarch's expression was cold. She hadn't expected the 9-domain world's 2 moves to cause her strategy to fail. Furthermore, they had suffered a huge blow. 9-Een Underworld Monarch, what's going on? The 7 Fiends King was puzzled. Their commander's strategy is very good. It should be because after taking down the spatial channel, they set up a transportation formation in our territory. That's why we've been forced into a passive position. 6 Soul, arrange for all the nether beasts to start clearing out from here. The 9-Een Underworld Monarch thought for a moment and realized what had gone wrong. The 9-Een Underworld Monarch reorganized her camp. At the same time, she told the other 2 Underworld Monarchs not to leave this region. She couldn't withstand the 9-domain world's attacks alone. Night Sorrow brought his people back to the command tent and then asked Tai Shu Yen about the situation. After Tai Shu Yen reported, Night Sorrow sighed. They hadn't been able to prevent people from dying in battle. This time, there were more than 10 initial venerables who had died. This is already very good. We've lost dozens of times more than the enemy. This is practically impossible in war, said Xiaolonjun. The results are good, but we still have to avoid casualties. Marshal Uncle Tai, Marshal Uncle Lu, record the names of those who died. Once we return, we have to make proper arrangements for their families. They died in battle for their homeland, so we have to make sure their families have a better life, said Night Sorrow to Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin. Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin nodded. They knew that this was Night Sorrow's character and way of doing things. He would definitely make the people around him feel at ease. The only regret this time is that we weren't able to get rid of that scourge, Ji Yu Hao. I don't know where he ran off to, said Night Sorrow, somewhat puzzled. The others shook their heads. They also didn't know the situation. Night Sorrow then arranged for everyone to rest. A high-intensity battle had consumed a great deal of everyone's energy. It had to be known that the Nether Realm's army fought without fear of death. There were even many times when both sides suffered. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been more than 10 deaths in the 9-domain world's battle. Night Sorrow was practicing in the command tent. He had just entered the Sage Realm. Now, he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. There were many areas that he needed to master through a comprehensive study. Night Sorrow was also at ease. He was waiting for the 9-domain world's troops to recover. Then, the battle could start at any time. The Nether Realm had fallen into a passive situation. In fact, Night Sorrow also knew that it wasn't that the 9-Een Underworld Monarch wasn't good enough. It was that he had taken the initiative and made the other party fall into a passive situation. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy to fight. The first free reading of Myriad Tao Becomes a God. Chapter 880. 3 days later, the exhaustion and tiredness of the 9 domains world from the hard battle had disappeared, and the saints had recovered to their peak state. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. Haha, this battle was very comfortable. We almost cut the Netherworld realm's strength in half, and we only suffered a little loss. Sky Underworld Saint was very happy. Night Sorrow, this should be considered a loss-free battle. We should be happy. You just need to study how to fight. All of us are prepared to die in battle, Xiaofan said. The battle has reached this stage. In fact, we already have the ability to control the situation. They are relying on nothing more than being unafraid of death and daring to fight. Night Sorrow said. They shouldn't scare us by saying that they are unafraid of death. It's not like we have never seen life and death. Black Dragon Saint said. Everyone is right to think so, but from my point of view, you are all my seniors. I don't want any losses. The great massacre of the profound heaven world is the time for us to truly fight. Now is the time for us to train our troops. Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Soldiers and commanders naturally had different thoughts and actions. What they had to do was to carry out orders. On the 6th day after the battle, Tai Shu Yen came to Night Sorrow's tent. Commander, our 2 teleportation arrays have been destroyed. This is within my expectations. If they still can't analyze that we have teleportation arrays in their world under such circumstances, then they are idiots. Night Sorrow said. Then we can't use some of our tactics. Jun Xuanji, who had followed Tai Shu Yen into the tent, said. Some methods can only be used occasionally. They can't be used continuously. The purpose of the 2 teleportation arrays has been achieved. They think that we can't continue to set up the battle because we don't have teleportation arrays. It's not about the gains and losses of one place. Night Sorrow said as he made tea for the 2. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Jun Xuanji and Tai Shu Yen nodded. They knew that Night Sorrow had the ability to do so. Next, Night Sorrow walked around the Grand Heavenly Cycle Array and looked at the other party's camp. Even though they'd suffered heavy injuries a few times, the army of the Netherworld was still in order, and there wasn't any disturbance. Night Sorrow really admired Yama King 9 Yin's commanding ability. At the same time, Night Sorrow also found out that Ji Yu Hao was in a tent right beside Yama King 9 Yin's tent. When Night Sorrow returned to the command tent, he reported the situation. That's because the 9 Yin Dark King brought Ji Yu Hao with him last time. That copper bell of the 9 Yin Dark King might also be a spatial saint treasure. Long Xianxing said. We have 4 pinnacle saints on our side. What are our chances of winning against their 3 pinnacle saints? Night Sorrow asked. I can fight the 9 Yin Underworld King to a standstill. Long Xianxing said. I can suppress the 7 Fiends King. Xian Wenxiu made his stance clear. I can stop 6 Soul King, but I can't suppress him, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. What about Heavenly Underworld Saint and Senior Shang Luo working together to deal with 6 Soul King? Night Sorrow asked. But if that's the case, we won't have any advantage against high-level saints, and we'll be at a disadvantage against mid-level saints, said Xiaolongjun. Night Sorrow thought about it. Right now, he wanted to whittle down the enemy's strength without suffering any losses. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that it wasn't enough. He still needed to think about it. Then let me think about it. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow continued to think about battle strategies as he cultivated. In the end, Night Sorrow felt that they could wait. When the Netherworld army charged, the formation he had set up would have a miraculous effect. By relying on the formation to whittle down the enemy's strength, it would be a battle without losses. The 9 Realms World's camp was very stable. It could be said that after 2 battles, the crisis of the 9 Realms world had been resolved. Night Sorrow cultivated every day. His true qi was becoming more and more stable, and his strength was rapidly increasing. After Night Sorrow finished cultivating and made tea, Tai Shu Yen, Yun Tianlong, and Jun Xuanji came to Night Sorrow's tent. What's the matter? Asked Night Sorrow as he poured tea for the 3 of them. Nothing. It's just that we're letting them stay outside so comfortably. We should think of a way to deal with them, said Jun Xuanji. In this situation, are we the ones who are anxious, or are they? The world behind us is as stable as Mount Tai, and they're worried that we'll attack at any time. If my calculations aren't wrong, they'll be very busy trying to break our grand cycle formation. It won't be long before they can break it, said Night Sorrow. Then you can activate the dark formation in the grand cycle formation to trick them. Jun Xuanji understood Night Sorrow's meaning. It's rare for you to understand. If we trick them again, then our 2 realms' strength will surpass theirs. When that time comes, we'll be able to win, said Night Sorrow with a smile. I told you not to be anxious. The commander knows what he's doing, but you two just had to ask, said Tai Shu Yan as she looked at Yun Tianlong and Jun Xuanji. Yun Tianlong smiled embarrassedly. It's mainly because everyone's hands are itching. We're not rushing you. We can wait. Everyone needs to work hard to raise their cultivation bases. In terms of resources, martial uncles and city lords will have to pay more attention. In addition, the formation masters stationed in the formation have to be vigilant. Don't make any mistakes. That's very important, said Night Sorrow. Soon after, Tai Shu Yan and the other two left. Night Sorrow didn't care about the current stalemate. The Netherworld realm wouldn't be willing to be in such a passive situation. It was only a matter of time before they broke the formation. When that time came, as long as they could eliminate a bit of the Netherworld realm's strength, the following battle would be easy. In addition, Night Sorrow was currently raising his strength. Night Sorrow had refined the multicolored light he obtained after the lightning tribulation. However, he couldn't control the golden light. The golden light reached the periphery of Night Sorrow's spirit sea and formed a golden halo. In the quiet days, Night Sorrow continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of the power of desolates. He was building a foundation for his body to enter the golden body realm. After half a month, Night Sorrow felt that the reincarnation spear had undergone some changes after being nourished by the law of nothingness. It was as if it had become a part of his body. Knowing that weapons could be upgraded as they were nourished, Night Sorrow would deliberately nourish it with his law of nothingness and spiritual strength every time he cultivated. There were very few saint-level weapons. There was still a difference between obtaining a saint-level weapon left behind by a predecessor and nurturing one's own saint-level weapon. If one kept using it, the nurtured weapon could be called a life weapon. After cultivating steadily for a month, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome had reached the peak of the spirit refinement realm. Night Sorrow also planned to make a breakthrough. Once his body cultivated to the 7th level, his defense would reach an unimaginable level. Seeking strength pills. Strength pills are equivalent to 1,000 devil fruits. If I don't have 10 updates today, my bad temper will come out. It's 4 a.m. now. After writing the second update, I won't sleep anymore. I'll continue to do Myriad Tao Ascension. Chapter 881. After patrolling the area and informing the others, Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the Space-Time Pagoda and began his closed-door training. He searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. The Myriad Tao Tome's spirit refinement realm was mainly to strengthen the soul in preparation for entering the 7th level. This was because the golden body realm required the power of laws and soul force to strengthen the body again. It could be said that the body had to be turned into energy. Blood was energy, tendons were energy, bones and skin were all energy. Any damage to the body could be directly repaired with energy. The golden body realm was the beginning of the Myriad Tao Tome's golden body realm. As long as one cultivated the golden body realm, it would be very difficult for weapons to damage the body. Only energy attacks could damage the body from the inside. Night Sorrow's soul force and power of laws were cultivated to a certain level. Now that his energy cultivation had reached a bottleneck and was stable enough, he could naturally advance. After stabilizing his emotions and consuming 2 drops of life spirit liquid, Night Sorrow began his advancement journey. First, his soul force and desolation's law fused. Next, it fused with the Myriad Tao Tome's energy. Next, he began to strengthen the various parts of his body, turning it into energy. This was another extremely painful process. With his body's ability to endure pain from the past, Night Sorrow could still endure it. The fusion of desolation's law, soul force, and Myriad Tao Tome's energy was extremely tyrannical. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's body had been strengthened and nourished by Xuexi's help. It was strong and tough enough to not break through and damage him. Hands, arms, legs, waist, abdomen, neck, head. Night Sorrow strengthened the various parts of his body. This pain exceeded all the previous body strengthening. It could be said that the body's original structure was broken and reassembled, advancing towards the most perfect state. This pain was simply indescribable. It wasn't as painful as peeling off the skin and breaking the bones. Night Sorrow's face was dripping with sweat. His body was almost soaked in sweat. The muscles on his face were moving rhythmically uncontrollably. Night Sorrow gritted his teeth and persevered. He knew that he couldn't give up. He had suffered so much in the cultivation of the 10,000 Dao Tome, and he didn't care about this time. As long as he persevered, he would win. Night Sorrow used 3 days to strengthen every part of his body. Next, he strengthened his internal organs. The pain that came from within his body was even more unbearable. It felt as if 100 ants were gnawing at his heart. Night Sorrow clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands throbbing. It took him 2 days to complete the strengthening of his internal organs. After strengthening his internal organs, a tyrannical energy began to circulate within Night Sorrow's body. Success. Golden body state. Night Sorrow knew that his body had reached a perfect state. His entire body had been transformed into energy. His blood was energy, and so were his bones. Just as Night Sorrow was about to cultivate the outer chapter, Shao Kong communicated with Night Sorrow and said that the tribulation clouds had appeared. Night Sorrow had already expected the lightning tribulation to appear. This was because when he cultivated the 10,000 Dao Tome to the 6th stage of the spirit refinement state, the lightning tribulation would appear. Now that he had entered the 7th stage of the golden body state, it would be strange if the lightning tribulation didn't appear. Night Sorrow entered the pool and washed himself. Then, he changed into a robe and rushed out of the space-time pagoda towards the Supreme River dimension. This time was tight. Night Sorrow didn't have time to bring the others through the formation. He went to the Supreme River dimension to accept the lightning tribulation. When Night Sorrow's true energy reached the Sage Realm, his strength was much weaker than it was now. Now that he had true energy cultivation of the Sage Realm, it was much easier to resist the lightning tribulation. After using his bloodline innate ability, spatial rend, and true energy to resist the 3rd lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow began to use his body to resist the 4th lightning tribulation. Before his body reached the golden body state, Night Sorrow had tried to use lightning to refine his body. Now that his body had reached the 7th stage of the golden body state, it was no problem at all. After enduring 2 lightning tribulations, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Passing the lightning tribulation was equivalent to passing the heavenly Tao's test. Naturally, there would be rewards. Night Sorrow received all of them and then stabilized his cultivation. At this time, Night Moon's sovereigns formed a protective circle, not allowing anyone to come close. With the unstable GU family in the 9 regions world, Night Moon's people naturally wouldn't allow anyone to disturb Night Sorrow when he needed some peace and quiet. Region Lord Wu, what's going on with the Lord Commander? Jun Xuanji asked Wu Lingfei. He didn't understand what was going on. There's no harm in talking about it. Night Sorrow doesn't just cultivate true energy, he also cultivates his body. Previously, he reached the 7th stage of the Saint Realm through true energy. Now, his body might have also broken through, said Wu Lingfei as she glanced at Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji. Wu Lingfei wasn't afraid that Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji would know this. Night Sorrow was surpassing his previous opponents step by step. When I fought him, he had just reached the 9th stage of the Saint Realm. His body hadn't reached this level yet. Even if I attacked him, it wasn't impossible for me to break through his defense. Now that his body has reached the 7th stage, there's no need to talk about it, said Ren Tianji. Jun Xuanji nodded. She had a strong personality and didn't like to admit defeat. But facing Night Sorrow, she had no choice but to admit defeat. No matter what, she knew that there was a huge gap between them. After cultivating for 3 days, Night Sorrow stood up and clenched his fists. Then an explosive sound rang out. Night Moon's people all retreated a few steps because the pressure was too great. Night Sorrow's current aura was like a small sun. His blood energy filled the air, and his essence chi soared into the sky. Night Sorrow's blood energy was like a landslide or a tsunami. In truth, the energy contained within his body had already far surpassed the power of a landslide or a tsunami. But this was a pirated version. Yishan waved his hand and punched the air. When he punched out, the area in front of his fist was filled with images of flowing time. Space also appeared in front of his fist. Very good. Thank you, great uncles. Thank you, mother. Night Sorrow cupped his hands toward Night God Thunder and the others before nodding to Yu Qing. Haha, the feeling of breaking through is very good, laughed Night God Thunder. Very good, Yishan said with a smile. All right, You can go do what you need to do. There are many people in the formation who want to know about you. If you have time, come find me for a drink." Night God Thunder nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to Night Moon once more and brought Yu Qing into the formation. After entering the 1000 derivation killing formation and passing through the spatial channel, Night Sorrow saw Yi Linghuan, Yi Wuyo, Wu Lingfei, and the others. "Your blood energy is like a tsunami. It's already a miracle that your body could reach this level. Even demon beasts and spirit beasts are far inferior to you," said Long Xianxing. "Senior Long Xianxing, you praise me too much. Night Sorrow still has a long way to go," said Night Sorrow. "You're definitely the first person in the history of the 9 regions world to cultivate your body to the 7th rank. You can even ignore normal attacks," said Sky Underworld Saint. "Even a saint would feel the pressure from Yi Shang's surging qi and blood." 9 Underworld King stood in the command tent and looked toward the spatial channel. He then closed his eyes and pondered. Click, Myriad Tao becomes God. To read for free. Chapter 882. Nether King 9. There's a spiritual chi signal over there. What's going on? The 7 Fiends King arrived at the Nether King 9 Yin's tent. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Someone, or perhaps some demonic beast, has cultivated their body to a certain level. "But I don't know who it is," said the Nether King 9. "I really didn't think there would be someone who could cultivate to such a level. Nether King 9, if we don't break this formation, we can only passively take a beating." "This isn't a problem," said the 7 Fiends King. He was the 2nd king of the Netherworld. "In 2 more days, I will be able to break this grand cosmic formation. When the time comes, the battle will begin. Also, gather all the troops that you can," Hades King 9 said to King 7 Fiends. The 7 Fiends King nodded and went to make the arrangements. Night Sorrow took a bath and returned to his tent. He was in a great mood. Both his true chi and the Myriad Tao scripture had reached the 7th rank. He was confident he could even kill a 3-star saint now. Xue Shi, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were all happy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's parents and Wu Lingfei also came to Night Sorrow's tent. "Everyone's here." Night Sorrow got up to brew some tea, but Sikong Chuyu took the tea set away. "Now that your strength has increased, Mother will be much more at ease." Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow. "Read novels. I'll continue to work hard on my cultivation. I'll bring my sister and dad out for some fresh air," said Night Sorrow. He roused Yin Yanxiao and Yi Gu from their cultivation and brought them out. "Brother, are you trying to suffocate me?" "Fortunately, the spiritual qi there is very dense, and the cultivation effect is very strong." Yin Yanxiao sat down next to Night Sorrow. "Haha, I'll be more careful in the future. Later, I'll send you to our Night Moon Dynasty's camp. However, the world is chaotic. You should help me take care of Old Man Gu." Night Sorrow rubbed Yin Yanxiao's head. "Yes, I will. Don't worry, big brother." Yin Yanxiao nodded. "Night Sorrow, why did you bring father here?" Old Man Gu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow didn't hide the truth from Ji Yu's family, and told him about how Ji Yu's family betrayed the 9 regions world. Mr. Gu nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow was worried about his safety. He didn't want to drag Night Sorrow down. "Nian Xiao, you have to congratulate your brother. Your brother has broken through to the Saint stage. He's the youngest Saint stage in the 9 domains world and the youngest Saint stage in history," Yu Qing said to her daughter. "Brother Saint, you're the best." After being stunned for a moment, Yin Yan grabbed Night Sorrow's arm. "You'll be able to do the same in the future." Night Sorrow smiled. After drinking tea, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Yi Wuyo's strength was increasing, while Yu Qing was already at the peak of the 8th rank. She needed to stabilize her cultivation base and comprehend law energy. Night Sorrow sent Xue Shi and the others into the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing often cultivated with Long Xianxing, so it wasn't convenient for them to enter the space-time pagoda. Next, Night Sorrow sent Old Man Gu and Yin Yanxiao to the Night Moon Dynasty's camp. He told Yi Lingxie and Yi Shenyue to pay attention to their safety. Yi Shenyue and Yi Lingxie both knew that Yi Shang was worried because of Ji Yu's betrayal. After saying goodbye to Tai Shu Yen and the others, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and began to stabilize his cultivation base. Tai Shu Yan, Yun Tianlong, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji could all understand why Night Sorrow was working so hard. His true qi and body had just advanced, so he definitely needed time to stabilize his cultivation base. Furthermore, Night Sorrow's strength was rapidly increasing. After entering the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow reached the 70th floor. However, Shao Kong told Night Sorrow that he could now enter the 70th floor. Given the strength of Night Sorrow's body, entering the 73rd floor shouldn't be a problem. Night Sorrow nodded and had Shao Kong bring him to the 73rd floor. Shao Kong told Night Sorrow that under normal circumstances, in other words, under normal circumstances, the 73rd floor of the space-time pagoda would have time acceleration and deceleration by 3 times. The 71st floor had 1 time acceleration, the 72nd floor had 2 times acceleration, and the 73rd floor had 3 times acceleration. Time acceleration meant that 3 days inside the 73rd floor was 1 day outside. If it was deceleration, then 1 day inside the 73rd floor was 3 days outside. What Night Sorrow needed was speed. What he needed was time. When Night Sorrow began to cultivate, he forgot about everything else. There were too many things he needed to do. First, he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. Second, he needed to refine the multicolored light he had obtained after passing the lightning tribulation. That was a reward from the heavenly Das. It was an all-purpose energy that was extremely rare. Furthermore, Night Sorrow didn't know what was going on with the 2 golden lights he had obtained. Now, they had merged into one and were circulating around his spirit sea. This meant that Night Sorrow's soul had an additional layer of protection. Night Sorrow had been cultivating for half a month. Of course, only 5 days had passed in the outside world. Night Sorrow had only come out of the space-time pagoda because he had sensed that his messaging crystal had cracked. Tai Shu Yan had sent a message to Night Sorrow when she realized that the other party had begun to break the array. Very good. They are finally going to move. Let's see who is better, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow said as he entered the array formation to watch Dark Monarch 9 break the array. Dark Monarch 9 led some of the Netherworld Realm saints to figure out how to break the array. Night Sorrow kept throwing spirit stones into the array formation as he watched Dark Monarch 9 break the array. He was controlling the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. If Night Sorrow didn't interfere, the 1000 Development Illusionary Array would be activated. At this time, only Dark Monarch 9 had entered the area of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. The other saints had yet to enter. Dark Monarch 9 had studied the Heavenly Cycle Array for a very long time and had thoroughly studied it. The speed of breaking the array formation was still very fast. As Dark Monarch 9 advanced, the other saints, including 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King, followed by her side to protect her. At this time, Dark Monarch 9's mind was focused on breaking the array. 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King were worried that she would be ambushed. This effect was what Night Sorrow wanted. He wanted to trap more experts from the Netherworld realm. Only then would he be able to produce results. When Dark Monarch 9 led 7 Fiends King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints into the area of the array formation, Night Sorrow shook his hands and threw spirit stones into the ground to activate the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. Following the activation of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array, the area of the array formation broken by Dark Monarch 9 was filled with white fog. Energy rose from the ground and surrounded the people from the Netherworld realm. Not good. Retreat. Dark Monarch 9 realized that something was wrong. She pulled out the scimitar at her waist and swung it, creating a crack in the energy that had just filled the air. Then, she led 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King out of the array formation. How could Night Sorrow let them escape? He led Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu over and blocked the 3 of them. This was the time to consolidate the results of the battle. Download Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 883. With Night Sorrow leading the way, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu naturally had no problem intercepting her. Long Xiansheng used the chaotic space to block her attack, while Xian Wenxiu attacked 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. Seeing that someone was intercepting her, Dark Monarch 9's body trembled. A copper bell appeared in front of her and slashed apart her astral saber. The area where the energy had yet to close was locked down. Following that, the death energy spread out in all directions, preventing Long Xuanqing's chaotic space from suppressing her. She then waved her saber rapidly, slashing apart the space in front of her and expanding it. At this time, she understood that she had fallen into another formation. The attack that Dark Monarch 9 was using now was her strongest attack. When Dark Monarch 9 attacked, 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King also attacked. They started attacking Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu, giving Dark Monarch 9 space to charge forward. In such a situation, Knight Sorrow was naturally unwilling. His body flashed and his reincarnation spear shot towards Dark Monarch 9. Die for this king! Dark Monarch 9 waved her saber and charged towards Knight Sorrow. Bang! Following a muffled sound, Knight Sorrow was sent flying by Dark Monarch 9 Yin's astral saber. At this time, Dark Monarch 9 charged out of the energy gap fixed by the copper bell. Knight Sorrow was unable to stop her. The difference between the two of them was simply too great. However, as Dark Monarch 9 charged out, the 1000 Development Illusory Formation closed up, leaving 7 Fiend King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints in the formation. Following that, Knight Sorrow threw spirit stones into the ground. He wanted to complete the Great Cycle Formation. This way, it would be equivalent to 2 formations operating at the same time. Even if Dark Monarch 9 could break the Great Cycle Formation, she wouldn't be able to do it. At this time, the Great Cycle Formation wasn't operating on its own. If she didn't break the 1000 Development Illusory Formation, she wouldn't be able to break the Great Cycle Formation. Knight Sorrow found Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu and told them not to fight, but to use the formation to trap and attack the enemies for a while. The 1000 Derivation Illusory Formation could only trap people, but the Heavenly Cycle Grand Formation was extremely powerful. Dark King 9, what do you think of this move of mine? Do you think you can break our formation so easily? In terms of strategy, you are far from it. Ji Yuhao, come back quickly. Knight Sorrow stood in the formation and yelled at Dark King 9, who was madly attacking the formation. 9 Dark King turned around, flashed across the air and showed up in front of Ji Yuhao's tent. He threw a palm strike with his left hand and shattered the tent. The great Tao of Death suppressed Ji Yuhao directly. Listen to me. If I had been sent by the 9 regions world, they would have protected me. How could this have happened? Ji Yuhao hurriedly shouted. Dark King 9 grabbed Ji Yuhao's robes with his left hand and swung his saber with his right hand, slapping Ji Yuhao's face until it looked like a pig's head. Regardless of whether Ji Yuhao had been sent by the 9 regions world, it was a fact that the Netherworld realm had been tricked. Dark King 9 was furious. How about a high-level saint in exchange for him? Knight Sorrow stood at the edge of the formation and asked, Are you serious? Dark King 9 looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. No, they want to kill me, Ji Yuhao said anxiously. As soon as he opened his mouth to speak, the teeth that had been broken by Dark King 9 fell to the ground. Ji Yuhao, we don't need to act right now. There's no need to do this with them. A high-level saint in exchange for your safety is worth Dark King 9. I, Knight Sorrow, am a man of my word, Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow had made up his mind to properly screw over Ji Yuhao. If he negotiated like this, no matter what Dark King 9 decided, Ji Yuhao would not have a good ending. But a high-level saint is not enough. I want the 7 Fiend King and the 6 Soul King, said Dark King 9. Sigh, a high-level saint is not enough for a venerable. Forget about the Dark King 9. Ji Yuhao, the 9 regions world will remember you. Knight Sorrow then walked into the formation. Knight Sorrow, I will definitely grind your bones to dust. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Ji Yuhao was so angry that his eyes turned red. He knew that Knight Sorrow was planning to screw him over. The people of the 9 regions world will remember what you did. You were the one who negotiated with them to let them choose high-level saints. I can be the one to use a high-level saint in exchange for you. But you should also know that Dark King 9 is the one who exchanged for you. In other words, it was worth it for you to sacrifice the big shots of the Nether Realm. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he entered the array and took a look at the Nether Realm saints who were being attacked by the cosmic array. Let's go back and have a cup of tea first, then come back to clean up the spoils of war. At this time, the people of the 9 regions camp did not dare to move. Only Knight Sorrow could enter and leave freely. The The confrontation this time was really beautiful. Tai Shiyan ordered people to serve everyone a jar of wine. Night Sorrow, Ji Yuhao's life is not going to be easy now. Your conversation just now firmly put the blame on his head. Xiaolon Jun said with a smile. She really did not expect Night Sorrow to have such ability. With just a few words, he had put Ji Yuhao in danger. A high-level saint in exchange for him. We will do it. A high-level saint cannot change the situation of the war. But Ji Yu's family is a huge hidden danger to our two worlds. Because I really want to exchange. Dark King 9 does not doubt the authenticity of my words. Night Sorrow said. That's right. If it's a high-level saint in exchange, we will do it. But Dark King 9 is not worth it. He can change the situation of the war. You have made a good decision. Long Xianxing said to Night Sorrow. In an hour, we'll go and harvest the spoils of war. In an hour, they'll have expended quite a bit of energy under the attacks of the Great Cosmic Formation. We'll start killing low-level saints and kill high-level saints. By then, the high-level saints will be expended. Night Sorrow said as he drank his tea. The others nodded. Now, in the formation, only Night Sorrow could come and go as he pleased. The others could not. Then, Night Sorrow told them how to deal with the situation. He would enter the formation and change the energy of the formation. He would create a small passage and pull out the Nether Realm saints one by one to kill. Night Sorrow's method was approved by everyone. They were not as worried about Night Sorrow's safety as before. After all, Night Sorrow was also an expert. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow began to take action. He controlled the formation from afar and let the Nether Realm saints feel that there was a way out. Naturally, they would rush out of the formation and come to the 9 regions world side. Even more. Peak saints killing low-level and mid-level saints was like child's play. Not to mention, when everyone attacked together, the Nether Realm saints were still in an exhausted state. After a while, 5 or 6 low-level saints were killed. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow took the crystal cores of the Nether Realm saints and passed through the formation to throw their corpses to the Nether Realm side. Dark King 9, you still have time to consider. If you are willing to exchange, call me. I really don't want the people of the 9 regions world to be injured. Night Sorrow shouted at Dark King 9's command tent. Night Sorrow, I will definitely kill you. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ji Yuhao, who was being beaten up by Dark King 9 in the command tent, shouted hysterically. Ji Yuhao was in a miserable state now. He was almost deformed by Dark King 9. Download God Ascension through Myriad DAO for free. Chapter 884. After that, Night Sorrow returned to the array and began to lead the mid-level saints to kill. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. The Nether Realm saints who had been tortured by the Great Cycle Array were like lambs. One by one, they were led out of the array by Night Sorrow and killed by the 9 region saints. Night Sorrow, your array is too powerful. Actually, even if we don't do anything, the array can kill people. Xiaolon Jun said. The 1000 derivation illusion array will confuse the soul and give them the most realistic feeling. For example, they will think that they can charge out if they fight in one direction, but in reality, they will just go in circles. Night Sorrow said. Everyone knew that this was the power of an array master. If they were ambushed by an array, they would die if they couldn't break it. After all the mid-level saints were killed, Night Sorrow threw the storage rings and saint crystals to Tai Shu Yan and Lu Qin. He wouldn't take any of the resources. We have abundant resources now. Some time ago, Senior Long Xianxing and Senior Xian Shang brought back a lot of resources. Tai Shu Yan said with a smile. Now, both realms need to develop, especially the Profound Mysteries realm. We should focus on the resources. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's decision was supported by everyone. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world didn't have any objections. One had to know that the Profound Mysteries realm had really contributed in this war. It could be said that without the Profound Mysteries realm, the 9 regions world wouldn't have been able to achieve this. The people of the Profound Mysteries realm all bowed to Night Sorrow because of Night Sorrow's generosity. After that, Night Sorrow threw all the mid-level saints' corpses to the Nether realm. 9 Dark King, I'll ask you one more time. If you don't, The next batch will be high-level saints' corpses. At that time, you won't be able to trade even if you want to. Knight Sorrow said. This king will tell you one thing. As long as this king doesn't die, the Nether Realm won't compromise. 9 Dark King dragged Ji Yuhao's deformed body and said, Good. Ji Yuhao, this is the last thing you can do for the 9 realms. Knight Sorrow then returned to the formation. He knew that Ji Yuhao would not be able to trade for it. If Ji Yuhao tried his best to explain, he would still be able to live, but he would not be able to gain any status or value. Because of the formation, the Netherworld realm suffered a great loss. Back then, the Netherworld realm saints around Yama King 9 were 1/3 of the total number of Netherworld saints, but they were all killed in the formation. After returning to the array formation, Knight Sorrow continued his massacre. 4 hours later, only 7 Evils King and 6 Soul King were left alive in the array formation formed by the combination of 1000 Derivation Grand Array and Heavenly Cycle Grand Array. Knight Sorrow first pulled 6 Soul King out of the array. Following that, Long Xianxing used the chaotic space control, and the other 3 Pinnacle Saints worked together to kill the struggling 6 Soul King. At this moment, Dark King 9 was listening to Ji Yuhao's explanation. After some analysis, Dark King 9 understood Ji Yuhao's situation in the 9 regions world. He also knew that Ji Yuhao was not worth exchanging for Dark King 9. At this moment, a crystal in her sleeve shattered. 6 Soul King murmured. Dark King 9's eyes turned red. She knew that 6 Soul King had fallen. However, at this moment, 7 Evils King appeared from the teleportation array. Dark King 9, that clone of mine can't hold on any longer. Even if they don't attack, it won't last for long. Knight Sorrow, who had entered the array formation to lure 7 Evils King out, noticed the situation outside the array formation. He could not help but curse inwardly. He knew that the array formation trapped 7 Evils King's clone. After that, Knight Sorrow lured 7 Evils King's clone out. As soon as he was lured out, he was about to self-destruct. However, with Long Xuanqing's chaotic space control and Xian Wenxiu's defensive saint treasure, the 9 regions world camp did not suffer any damage. Knight Sorrow also explained 7 Evils King's situation. After learning that they had killed 7 Evils King's soul clone, although they were a little annoyed, they were already very satisfied with such a harvest. These Dark Kings all have clones, and their strength is very strong. They are not much different from the main body, Knight Sorrow said. Don't worry. This battle has practically crippled the Nether Realm. In the following battle, we will have an absolute advantage. Haha, if they hadn't fought with us in a mutually destructive manner, we wouldn't have died yet. Xiaolonjun said happily. Not only Xiaolonjun was happy, but the others were also very happy. It could be said that the 9 regions world camp had won. Novelin the command tent of the Nether World camp. Dark King 9, we are now in a passive position. The 2 of us can only hold back their 2 strongest experts. There are still 2 Pinnacle Saints that we can't fight against. If they rush out, we won't be able to stop them. 7 Evils King's face was full of worry. Things aren't that bad. This king's clone is about to arrive with the 9 Blood Guards. Let's see if they can rush out and try. Dark King 9 snorted coldly. While Knight Sorrow was patrolling the formation, he sensed another 9 Nether King walking out of the teleportation formation. Nearly 100 Nether race warriors in red armor appeared behind him one after another. These Nether race warriors were different from ordinary Nether race warriors. Their faces were filled with runes, as if they were born with them. Knight Sorrow watched while thinking. Then he returned to the command tent of the 9 regions world camp and reported the situation. This matter is still not easy to handle. The Dark King 9's soul clone is definitely very strong, said Long Xianxing. Knight Sorrow then explained the situation of the Blood Guards. There are runes on their faces. What kind of runes? Asked Xian Wenxiu. It seems to be the same as the runes on Heavenly Underworld Saint's arm. But they have a very terrifying aura, said Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, bring me over to take a look. I hope they aren't cultivating the blood diagram treasured tome, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. Knight Sorrow then brought Heavenly Underworld Saint to take a look. The 2 of them then brought back some bad news. Heavenly Underworld Saint's guess had been correct. Darkness Island's inheritance was the Darkness Treasured Tome, and the Blood Diagram Treasured Tome also existed. The Blood Diagram Treasured Tome was used to train death warriors. Death warriors who cultivated the Blood Diagram Treasured Tome were extremely powerful, and they could self-detonate. Because of their special cultivation technique, their self-detonation was several times stronger than others at the same level. This Dark King 9 doesn't have any intention of retreating. He wants to fight to the death with us, said Long Shensheng. They're not easy to deal with. Most of those Blood Diagram death warriors are high-level and peak venerables. A few of their leaders are saints. If we want to fight, we'll have to pay a huge price. That's not something I want to see, said Night Sorrow. The situation is in our hands now. Commander, take your time to think of a way. We're not in a hurry anyway, said Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this matter needed to be carefully considered. The enemy's death warriors were prepared for battle. Moreover, Dark King 9 had a clone, which was equivalent to having another peak Saint King. If they wanted to fight, the 9-domain world would have to pay a huge price. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and came up with a feasible plan. They would continue to harass the Netherworld and use this tactic to lower the overall strength of the Netherworld. You can read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 885. Night Sorrow didn't tell anyone. He left the tent and placed a teleportation crystal on the teleportation array. Then, he used a spatial crack to enter the chaotic space. Blue. Night Sorrow first investigated the Netherworld camp. He wanted to find a chance to kill Ji Yu Hao, but he found that Ji Yu Hao was in a tent not far from 9 Nether King. There were saints guarding it, so he couldn't do it. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't stop and flew away. This time, he flew hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow tore space and arrived in the real world. After flying for 300,000 miles, Night Sorrow started to set up a teleportation array. After he was done, he inserted a teleportation crystal into the teleportation array and set up an illusion array and a killing array. Night Sorrow set up the teleportation array. After the illusion array and killing array were broken, the teleportation array would be destroyed. There would be no possibility of it being trapped by the enemy. After that, Night Sorrow flew for a while and set up another teleportation array. Then, he returned to the teleportation array. Seeing Night Sorrow come out of the teleportation array, Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji, who were patrolling the camp, were stunned. You went out to set up a teleportation array? Seems like you have another idea, Jun Xuanji said. War requires patience, resources, and people's hearts. If we can fight our way in, why not? We want their resources, and we want to destroy their stability, Night Sorrow said. This move of yours is enough to make them helpless, Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow smiled. He didn't have any good ideas at the moment, so this was the only thing he could do. Also, he planned to think of a way to solve Ji Yu Hao's problem. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about how to solve it, Lin Yuandao appeared. He wanted Night Sorrow to take him through the 1,000 derivation killing array. He sent Lan Yuxuan to inquire about Ji Yu's family. At this time, Lan Yuxuan crushed his messaging crystal. Night Sorrow took Lin Yuandao to see Lan Yuxuan. Lan Yuxuan brought a man. Lord K. Lord, this is our spy. However, he only knows which island the Central State Mansion is on and where the entrance is. However, he doesn't have the qualifications to enter the Central State Mansion. Lan Yuxuan reported. After that, the spy explained the situation. The Central State Prefecture was surrounded by formations, and it would be very difficult to enter without a map. This informant was a member of Ji Yu family. His parents were sacrificed in the power struggle of Ji Yu family. With the secret support of Tianji Tower, he had become one of Ji Yu family's key disciples. That was why he was brought to the island where Zhongzhou Prefecture was located. However, he was only allowed to stay on the island, and was not qualified to enter Zhongzhou Prefecture. Night Sorrow, I'll take care of this. However, I'll have to bring Black Entropy with me. After all, there's a formation there. Black Entropy is a formation grandmaster. He might need to break the formation, Lin Yuandao said. Bring more people. We have to guard against Ji Yu Haitian, Night Sorrow said. Then I'll bring Chief Guardian Gua Xiao over. Lin Yuandao nodded. The Central State Mansion was a big matter. He had to take it seriously. Night Sorrow also sent Guo and Black Entropy out of the formation. After sending them out of the space tunnel, he asked them to take care of this matter. After that, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and told Sikong Chuyu, Yonglei, Aoi, and Xuexi about this matter. This is a good thing. The problem of Ji Yu family has been solved. Only Ji Yu Hao is left. He won't be able to cause any trouble, Sikong Chuyu said. I have to find a way to kill Ji Yu Hao, Night Sorrow said. The problem now is that Ji Yu Hao is always by Nine Dark Lord's side. We can't do anything to him, Xuexi said. I'll ask Long Xiansheng and Saint Xian if they have any good ideas, Night Sorrow said as he walked towards the command tent. Other than guiding Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing in their cultivation, Long Xiansheng spent most of his time in the command tent. When Night Sorrow arrived, there were many people in the tent. Then, Night Sorrow told them about his idea of killing Ji Yu Hao. The problem lies in the fact that the Nine Hell King and her doppelganger are both very strong. If we rush out, she will be on guard. With the addition of the 7 Fiend King, our chances of success are not high. Long Xiansheng said. Seniors, this is what I'm thinking. I can use the space crack to directly enter Ji Yu Hao's tent. After I break the space crack again, any of you can instantly kill him or capture him into the space crack, Night Sorrow said. Okay, we'll do it in the space crack. I'll be responsible for capturing him. Saint Xian will be responsible for blocking the reinforcements. Night Sorrow, you'll be responsible for bringing us there and back, Long Xiansheng said. Then it's decided. We'll go now. Night Sorrow did not want Ji Yu Hao to live at all. The main reason was that Ji Yu Hao was a big trouble. Reading Novel 3 Night Sorrow tore the space apart and brought Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu into the space crack. In the space crack, they shuttled towards the Netherworld's camp. Night Sorrow's soul power passed through the space crack and found the location of Ji Yu Hao's tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow's bloodline talent burst out and tore the space apart. Then, he used his realm to prevent the space crack from closing. Long Xiansheng used the space crack to trap Ji Yu Hao. While killing him, he pulled him into the space crack. It didn't matter if it was killing or pulling, as long as he could do one thing. Xian Wenxiu took out his high-grade saint treasure and started to defend. When 9 Dark King and 7 Fiends King arrived, Ji Yu Hao was already pulled into the space crack by Long Xiansheng. Xian Wenxiu kept his saint treasure. Then, he stretched out his arm and flattened the space crack. It was easy for cultivators to stabilize and flatten the space crack. The difficulty was that they couldn't tear the space apart. After the space was flattened, Night Sorrow brought Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu back to the 9 Regions World's camp. Then they tore the space apart and returned to the real world. At this time, Ji Yu Hao only had half of his life left. Night Sorrow waved his hand and shattered his dantian and legs. He didn't kill him because Night Sorrow was worried that something might happen in the Central State Prefecture. Night Sorrow, you will die a horrible death. Ji Yu Hao cursed as he lay on the ground. Even if I die a horrible death, I will kill you. Let's see how long you can live. Martial Uncle Grand Uncle gave him the life spirit liquid. We can't let him die. Wait for the news from Lord Quebec. If we successfully take down the Central State Prefecture, we will kill him. Night Sorrow waved his hand and knocked out Ji Yu Hao's few teeth, not giving him the chance to bite his tongue and commit suicide. Leave him to me. Before it's time to die, he can't die even if he wants to. Hua Haining directly fed Ji Yu Hao a pill. Then, Ji Yu Hao stopped moving. What pill is that? Night Sorrow asked. Paralysis pill. Without the antidote, he won't be able to move. He won't be able to commit suicide. Hua Haining said. Okay, then we will wait for news from Lord Quebec. I will go and remove the formation at the entrance of the space tunnel. Otherwise, it will be inconvenient for our own people to come in and out. However, Martial Uncle Grand Uncle, King Yun, you have to arrange some guards. If they are not absolutely reliable, they cannot come. Night Sorrow felt more at ease. Capturing Ji Yu Hao was equivalent to eliminating a hidden danger. At this time, 9 Dark King looked at the space tunnel and narrowed his eyes, thinking. And what about the health benefits? What about the energy pills? 10 times a day? What about the myriad Dao Ascension? You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.